What's the ham, Alphas? It's your boy Zell May, and of course, I'm with
Classic Ruby, y'all. What's up? What's good? What's happening? What's popping? This lovely Canada Day and 4th of July weekend. Like, I don't know. They're very, very close together, obviously. And so for a bunch of y'all have tomorrow off because it's 4th of July. And for a bunch more of y'all have today off because, well, Canada Day was on the weekend, and then, you know, they have to give you a day off. And so then the day off was Monday. It's a thing, whatever. Anyway, happy holidays to all of y'all. Hopefully you guys caught to do something fun, or, you know, at least like listen to some fireworks, eat some good food, you know, something. I know right now there's people up in my house eating some good food, okay? And my street, there was a whole thing. Okay, we had a Karen situation where the Karen was threatening the person who runs the street party, and he was scared, so he wasn't going to do fireworks. And then, so we thought there was no fireworks, but the rest of the street didn't care, and they all put their fireworks together. It was a great time. So I don't know. How is your almost 4th of July going, Zell?
It's blessed, and don't let one Karen ruin your fun, because as we have taught you, Karens they just don't want to have fun.
Facts. All day facts. All right.
Of course, I see Rosalind in the chat, Danteezy. I see Mama Bell, everybody in the chat. Shout out to everyone. Shout out to anyone lurking in the chat. We got a great show for you today. Y'all see it in the title. We are talking about the Supreme Court. What's going on with all of that. So we're going to break down. We're going to watch some Young Turks, see a little bit of their thoughts on all three of the cases. Go down through it. We also got some amazing stories. Y'all know how the show go. Y'all will also be invited to discussion on any one of the topics y'all want to talk about, or any of the three cases, because I know it's going to have passionate feelings about everything. And listen, I'm going to agree with Ruby, but I don't know if I'm going to agree with Ruby. So we're going to see when we get to that part in the second half.
I guess we will. We all know it's not that I'm intentionally disagreeable. I just tend to disagree. Anyway, so yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Let's get started. And of course, the first one is brought to you by our top mod, Sure. So we're going to start off with that. And you know, it's always shout out to Chicago. I love my family's other city. So let's get started.
You're attacking your mind.
The nigga is me. I'm him. I'm not them. I'm him Jones. I'm him Duncan. I will beat a nigga ass and stomp him in my Timberlands.
What's up, Alpha? May we're back, and of course we with an amazing story thanks to Sean Willie. And I come to find out Sean, the best mind in the world, has brought something to my attention that seems to be more of an epidemic, because she sent this story about two men in custody accused of stealing 200 Cadillac converters. Now what we're gonna find out is it's not just in Chicago. Let's go react to it. This is from CBS News Chicago. We're also going to react to two other stories that's recent. So let's go.
Two men expected in court this morning accused of stealing catalytic converters. Marzell Woodard and Vincent Parks were arrested yesterday after Chicago police found these catalytic converters. Now take a quick look here, because police say they found 210 of them. That's what they counted. The discovery in a building in Humboldt Park came after an 8-month-long investigation.
8-month-long investigation.
Is charged with organizing a vehicle theft conspiracy. Parks is charged with possessing the stolen parts.
That is one case. Now let's go to Philadelphia news, and let's talk about it in Philadelphia, where a tow company is charging a multi-million-dollar catalytic converter theft ring.
Billion-dollar criminal enterprise operating in a large part of our region has now been dismantled. That according to the Bucks County DA today, which announced charges connected to an elaborate catalytic converter theft operation. Action News reporter Becca Hendrickson joining us now live in Doylestown with more on how this investigation unfolded. Becca.
Brian, this was a year-long investigation.
This one is a year long.
5,000 hours of surveillance video, undercover investigations. It led these prosecutors to a towing company in Port Richmond that was at minimum buying $10,000 worth of stolen catalytic converters per night.
Per night? Listen, I am thoroughly confused. I'm like, is it? How much do catalytic converters cost? We're gonna do some research after this video, and we're gonna see how much do these cost, because this seems $10,000 a night worth of stolen catalytic converters.
Surveillance video shows a person inside of TDI Towing in Port Richmond pulling a catalytic converter out of a car and cooling it off. Investigators say this company bought $8.2 million worth of catalytic converters over 3 years.
Our goal? To put them out.
Is there a thing like we're gonna steal it and then we're gonna charge people and get like free catalytic converters, because a lot of people must need them? Technically, if you steal them and then somebody needs one because somebody stole it, and then they come to you from the towing company and be like, hey, do you got a cheap one? And then you sell it back to them, or another one you stole. Could you actually, if you, that's how you can make $8.2 million?
Out of business forever.
The Bucks County District Attorney's Office announced charges against 11 people and TDI Towing for the catalytic converter theft ring that spans the entire Delaware Valley.
As you all know, criminals don't care about borders.
Prosecutors say Michael Williams runs TDI Towing and is the kingpin. Also charged are 6 of his employees, many of whom are related, who investigators say bought the
family
converters.
crime ring.
And these 4 suspects are what investigators described as the cutters. One suspect, Richard Page, is still on the run.
These are the people that do the damage to your automobiles. These are also the people that sold the stolen cats to TDI.
Investigators say the company bought an average 175 converters per week at about $300 each and were reselling the precious metals.
And they are rhodium.
Oh, you can set a mill, so
and
yeah, that too.
palladium. Increased dramatically during the pandemic because of supply chain issues.
There are now padlocks on the Port Richmond company. Philadelphia police say a major criminal ring in the city has been shuttered.
So you can set a mill. The same thing to do with air conditioning. I know air conditioning is a big thing in the South. I guess it's like a Midwestern, Northeast thing where you steal the catalytic converters. I don't know how many people. I can think of a few that would be able to do it, but I don't know how. It's hard. I guess it's harder in a rural area, because if you see some random dude come into your yard or stealing, people think everything's weird because most people don't be around each other in the South. But I can see out in like New Jersey and Philadelphia and that whole, as they say, Delaware region, how this has seemed like less of a thing. Just seeing a dude carry a part across the street might not be as weird as seeing a dude in the South carry across the street. Instead, they steal from air conditioning down here.
Heard the DA here in Bucks County say thousands. You could times that by a crooked number, and you'd know how many Philadelphia has been suffering. So it's a good day when we could put all our resources together.
And investigators say this investigation
Shout out to
is
ABC6.
ongoing, including into the corporations that were buying the precious metals off of TDI. Police are also encouraging more victims who had their catalytic converters stolen to come forward. In Doylestown, Becca Hendrickson, Channel 6 Action News. Brian.
So my question is about these catalytic converters is, let's go. We're gonna do a little research right here. We're gonna research live catalytic converter. I don't care if y'all see that. Let's see how much they going for. Let's go to Amazon. I'm just hey, look, these are the cheap ones. We ain't taking them, you know what I'm saying? We get a few good ones, you know what I'm saying? Ooh, okay, you can. That metal probably costs a lot too. You can sell them back to people. You can get a good one like this for $830. Listen. I can see where the money is. I can see where it's flowing. Y'all be careful. If somebody ran your car, always look for people ran your car, man. Shout out to Shaw one more time. She putting us on game, Chicago's, Northeast, all of that, letting us know that they out here trying to steal your catalytic converters and then make you pay for it again after they fix your car. As we seen the towing company do, 200,000s and 200. Yo, the pandemic really messed a lot of stuff up. We got to talk about it. The pandemic really got a lot of people finding new ways to work, if you know what I mean. Not the simple way, new ways to work. And it's not the good way. I appreciate y'all for listening and watching, like and subscribe, all that stuff. And shout out to Shaw one more time. Great story. We putting y'all on game. They are stealing catalytic converters. They heating them up, and I hope that we didn't show y'all how to do it and do something negative. Yes, they are stealing converters. Ruby, what do you think?
This is actually something that we covered on Shar's channel, right, on Just Ask Shar, when we were doing the news on Saturdays. And so I remember this happening. It was at the start of the pandemic in particular. And it was wild because it was just like, it seems like this is all they were stealing with these Cadillac converter things. And I didn't know enough about car parts really to be like, why this particular part? And if you got in there and you're going to steal something, why don't you steal lots of things? And they didn't. They were very targeted on this one part. So I'm really happy to have the update about like why this one part, why was it so important, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm happy to have the update. I am.
$8.2 million all through the Northeast, Delaware whole area, Philly, Boston, all those areas. This towing company. That's people you trust too. That was amazing. There we go. Shout out to Biggie Boss in the chat. But yeah, I'm excited that we got an update. Hopefully some of my Northeast and Midwestern and even some of my Southern people. Well, I don't know about the Southern people they got, but they just stopped them from stealing. So
that's true. At least there's that. And, I am kind of glad because I know there was a lot of insinuations about Black people kind of doing this. And so I'm kind of happy that, we got some pictures here and that's not what we saw because they like to blame the young Black youth for everything. And like they were talking about it like, oh, see, look at the way that the young Black youth respond or the way Black people respond whenever there's a crisis. And it's like, oh, wait, this wasn't Black people. Oh, okay, thanks. So I'm really happy to have dispelled that one 100%. Yeah. So while we're dispelling things, I don't know. We'll see if we can dispel this one. Y'all are going to have to let me know what you think. It is certainly disturbing. We definitely don't have a lot of information. Let's take a look at what one young man did. Y'all, when I saw this come across my timeline, I thought, no, what? No, I must be missing some really salient details. That's how I felt. Because when you tell me that a young man or a boy, really, right? I mean, honestly, I see nowadays everyone under the age of 25 is like a boy. But when you tell me a young man ends the lives of anyone in his family, the first thing I think is, well, maybe it has to do with abuse or something else terrible, some type of tragic thing that was happening to that person. And short of that, I think, okay, maybe it had something to do with affluenza, right? What I don't think is, oh, well, he assumed that they were cannibals who were coming to eat him. I definitely never think that. And yet somehow or another, that's what happened in the following case. Let us take a look at this video because I'm honestly blown away. I'm honestly blown away. Let's take a look.
New disturbing details in the deadly discovery made after a suspect's standoff with police. A Northeast Texas teenager is accused of killing 4 family members. Now, according to a court affidavit, 18-year-old Cesar Olade allegedly called 911 and confessed to killing his mother, father, and siblings. KSLA News 12's Tamara Knight spoke with very shocked neighbors.
I'm shocked. The boy that done the shooting, their son, was a kind boy. He was nice and polite to me. The family was polite and nice, no problems out of them.
The city of Nash is shocked after tragedy struck for the Olade family. 18-year-old Cesar Olade faces capital murder charges, accused of killing his immediate family.
We received a call stating that the suspect had allegedly caused some harm to some of his family members and had the intentions of possibly committing suicide by cop. Luckily, that didn't happen.
According to a court affidavit obtained from Bowie County, Cesar says he killed his family, claiming they were cannibals and they were going to eat him.
They were real nice people, really good to me and my wife. They really looked after us because they thought we were the 2 old people on the hill. and they really checked on us all the time.
Neighbors claim the family lived in their Lemon Acres home for the past 12 years and were good neighbors.
Okay.
I'm going to miss them tremendously.
This little old man
I
is
would
just
love
like
to
so
talk to
adorable.
the boy that done the shooting and just let him tell me why he done it and everything, because I don't think he was on.
I don't know. There's something about the way this man is telling the story that just reminds me of like every old person I've ever met that like I had some type of affection for. I don't know. It's just like the way that they just, you get past a certain age and then certain things suddenly just don't matter anymore. You just talk about how nice and polite they were to you and that's why you like them. And then they'll say, well, they tell the stories in the funniest ways. And like, it's just weird. Like, it's funny. It's like you get to a certain age and your entire perspective changes in life. And it's like an across the board kind of thing. It's really adorable. But anyway, he's about to give us his reason of what he thinks. To me, I'm going to think, honestly, I think that if this is true and this is really what the kid thought, and I don't know that that's really what he thought for real. Like, I don't actually know. But if it's true, I'm going to guess that he probably might be at the age for onset of schizophrenia. And it might be a paranoid schizophrenic delusion. I mean, it seems very unlikely that his entire family, including his siblings, were all cannibals. And they were all just gunning for him in particular. Like, it seems very unlikely that any part of that is true, right? It does seem delusional, which suggests to me, therefore, that it probably is a delusion. And when people have sudden onset delusions, and they're not used to having them their whole lives, aren't experienced with them and whatever, they tend not to question the delusion. Unfortunately, if your delusion has to do with your entire family, the people you're supposed to be able to trust, and it's supposed to be a home base and safe. You think about how many things could look shady in a family just because y'all are family. You live in the same house all day, every day. So you see each other in every kind of way, right? So to me, it suggests to me the kid might be schizophrenic. I'm not really sure. But yes, this elderly neighbor is about to tell us what he thinks. Let's take a listen.
Any kind of drugs, and he wasn't mean. He was always kind and courteous. I just can't understand it.
The affidavit further says the Oladay family forced their way into the home and saw Caesar with a firearm. That's where he allegedly admitting to killing his father, mother, and siblings. Right now, there's no word on when he'll be arraigned. His bond is currently set at $10 million.
Now, I did take a look, and so far we do not have any other updates on this story, including, obviously, therefore, Oladay's motivations in this case. Although I would suspect that, like I said, I do think that there are definitely mental health issues involved here. 18 is a little young for the onset of schizophrenia, but it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I don't know. I guess we're just gonna have to wait for the details to come out. Let me know what y'all think. Do you think maybe they really all were cannibals? Even his younger brother, who he also took the life of? Do you think that this is a delusion that he really had, that he really believed that they were all cannibals? Do you guys think that somehow he's some type of family annihilator, maybe, and he just was failing out of school, maybe, didn't get into college, something like that, and so he had to save his family from the dishonor by ending all their lives? That definitely happens with family annihilators. Or do you think this is all just a lie? And the reason why he did this has nothing to do with any of the above. It just has to do with his obsession with, I don't know, Final Fantasy or some other type of video game, and his own really disturbing discussions online or in forums. What do y'all think? Y'all let me know. Because right now, no idea. I mean, y'all, and trust me, I really tried before showtime to get some more information But since May, because this actually happened in May, and since May, there's been no more new information. Like literally no more new information. We don't know anything more than what's already been told. People from his school came out and basically said that he was posting satanic stuff the morning that this happened. You know, and they were saying he was posting stuff from school in the days leading up to it that was a little bit satanic or whatever, but all of that's been locked down, social media, whatever. We don't have access to it. So we don't really know, right? We know the neighbor's interpretation of this family. And we do know that, I mean, interpretations can be wrong, right? I mean, they could be cannibals. Like, I'm not saying that there is 100% that they're not. I just kind of feel like it's more likely that there was a sudden onset schizophreniform disorder that was presenting early. Maybe he decided to try to smoke weed, because that is a way that you could get sudden onset schizophrenia, even if it doesn't run in your family. And he started having paranoid delusions and hallucinations and reacted. I don't know. Or he could be a family annihilator, which we've seen a lot of lately. What do you think, Sal?
Yeah, this case was very interesting. I looked it up too. It was I've been looking for information on it. They literally has locked it down. We have no clue about this young man or anything about it. We do have rumors of like what Ruby said about his friends and family. This is a very strange case.
Yeah.
And I do not know where to go with it. Like nothing lines up perfectly. I usually have like something like, oh, they found something. His friends started doing drugs, or maybe that. Like, nope. Oh, he had a few weird posts, but I don't know if it led to that. Like usually they hint at they gonna do something like, "Oh, my family out to get me" or something. He technically didn't have that, even though he did have satanic stuff. So this was a case of like just I have no clue what happened in this case. That's what you gotta be careful.
None at all.
Be careful. You walk into your house, something your cousin got a shotgun. You don't know what's going to happen. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And the only reason why I'm writing off drugs as the explanation is because he didn't have a long-standing drug problem, right? We would have noticed that. And I think they would have reported if he had some type of, something like one of those things that makes you like, like bath salt and all that stuff. I think they would have reported that. So it would have had to be some other type of drug. And as far as people have reported, like I just feel like we would have had more information if he was a druggie. Do you know what I mean? Like I just really feel like it's probably not drugs, at least not once he intentionally ingested. But the fact that it's not that he went on this killing spree and killed everyone, right? That's not the thing. It's the fact that he had this delusion that they're cannibals and that they were going to eat him. So it's like kill or be killed. Now, again, family annihilators, we're seeing a lot of young ones. Okay. And unfortunately, it's because normally there's an honor element there with these young men and they're failing out of school or they're not going to get into college or whatever. And they've been living this lie. And then they get near the time where they're about to get caught. And then rather than have their parents ever have to live with the dishonor of them failing out of life or whatever, they slaughter their family. Right. And that has happened countless. Like when I say there's a serious increase in the last like several years since the pandemic started, I'm like, for real, there has been. But they don't normally come up with a different reason. They normally just say, yeah, I did it. And then if you push them, they say, yeah, I was failing out of life. Like they'll tell you, right? So I think it's weird. Like, I don't know. Like, why would you come up with the cannibal thing? Why? I don't know, man. I don't know. We're going to keep tabs on this one because this is wild.
We're going to keep tabs on that. By the way, shout out, I got BMT. He had surgery either today or yesterday. And he's recovering from that. So shout out to BMT. Hope you get recovered well. Good. And just see your random rants online about so crazy.
I know, right?
Yeah, so
I'm going to have to save my hat until he can be here. I mean, yep.
That is true.
Yeah, no, definitely.
That is true.
No, it is true. Yeah. Almost in like the majority of them are males, family annihilators. It's a very specific thing. So when women, the ones who normally just slaughter their kids, right? That tends to be women, right? But when you have someone eliminating their entire family, normally over honor, or they lost their job or whatever it is, it tends to be males. It's not always, but it tends to be. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, shout out to them. The next story we have is a interesting story because it is a plight on society. I think society has a major problem, and this is one of them because we just go off of whatever highlight we see, and you didn't have to. So let's go. Let's watch. So we're going to see how this video goes. Am I on the fence? Am I not? I don't know yet because I have seen this. This is Charlamagne giving Roseanne Barr Donkey of the Day. Now, I read the comment section full of black people on this show. The show full of black people saying she was taken out of context. I am no fan of Roseanne Barr by any stretch of imagination, but I am a person who is willing to give somebody a chance. Just because I don't like her or particularly believe what she believes or any of that, give them a chance. But we're going to see what Charlamagne says, and then we're going to see actually what Roseanne says, because they're saying it's out of context, the clip they play. So let's see.
I can understand racism, prejudice, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, anti-Semitism. I don't agree with any of it, but I understand it. Okay, all of those are extremely stupid things to believe, but I understand them. All right, thank you. It's pretty textbook. All right, prejudice, the dictionary definition.
Self-hate is probably easy to self-hate, especially when you don't feel like you fit in with the people that identify with. It can easily be self-hate, right? It can easily be self-hatred.
It can be an effective feeling towards a person based on their perceived group membership. Self-hatred is personal self-loathing, our hatred of oneself, our hatred of your own kind. Okay, Roseanne,
we don't care about that.
Hate on her own community. Okay,
we don't care
she's
about that.
Jewish, by the way. In her words, 100% Jewish. Now, what I would call self-hate, she calls being sarcastic. I think I should let you hear what she said first before I continue on. Would you like to hear it? Here it go.
Because we have, there's such a thing as the truth and facts, and we have to stick to it. And,
it's scary.
And that is the truth. And nobody died in the Holocaust either. No. That's the truth.
Yeah.
It should happen. 6 million Jews should die right now because
that is crazy to say.
They cause all the problems in the world, but it never happened. But it never happened.
That is not the truth. That is not.
That is what they gave Donkey today for. Let's see. I have it put up. We're gonna see what she actually says, and is it sarcasm?
I did.
Well, because you're part Jewish, right? Part of your family's Jewish.
I'm all Jewish.
You're all Jewish.
100%.
And a lot of Hollywood is Jewish. Yeah, it's like a lot of Hollywood is a Jewish business. Really, well, they started Hollywood.
Yeah.
Right. But so was it weird?
Just like rap, black people started rap.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go over there and try to get in rap and go, all these black people, go on Saturday Night Live like Dave Chappelle.
Well, it doesn't sound like she anti so far. We're going to continue to see, but she basically like, why would Dave Chappelle say this little sarcastic line? So maybe it's hitting at it. Maybe it's hitting at it. Y'all let me know in the comments how y'all feel so far.
I'm just saying a lot of black people are in control of rap.
Right.
Hello?
Technically, black people aren't technically in control of rap. It's not a lot of, it's technically a lot of white people. And some are kind of control of that. I disagree with that statement. But if you're talking about the biggest stars, yes. But if you're talking about who control it, I'm saying that's not a correct thing unless you think Jay-Z control it.
Well, you went there. You try to get in show business. Of course it's Jewish. But, and people should be glad that it's Jewish too, because if Jews were not controlling Hollywood, all you'd have was fucking fishing shows.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
That was a dig at white people out there like that.
Oh, dude, I think that about that, like,
they'll 100% have a fishing show.
Like, Jewish people, like, they're just good at, or I talk about this in my act, there's like just a good level of organization that goes on with Jews,
Yeah.
You'd have like a bunch of like white people just shooting each other for patents, I feel like, if you didn't have Jews involved.
If you didn't have the Jewish lawyers to screw those people out of their patents, think of how bad the world would be.
It's starting out very sarcastic.
But did you feel, if you're part Jewish, did you feel weird?
No, I'm all Jewish.
If you're all Jewish, did you feel weird?
My kids are half.
Was it weird that Hollywood like went against you then because you're also Jewish or
Well,
not?
Hollywood Jews don't like Jews. Let's be real. If Hollywood, I'm a Jew and I got fired from Jewish Hollywood. So what does that say?
I don't understand. And that.
Because I'm not the right kind of Jew.
How do y'all feel so far? How do y'all feel? Do you feel sarcasm? I'm sorry. From this context starting, it sounds like a lot of sarcasm, but we're gonna see because this part right here seems like it might not be sarcasm. Like, oh, I'm not the right kind, because we done heard that before in the black community. So I'm just going to break it down deep down.
As the Jews in Hollywood. For one thing, I'm a Jewy Jew. I'm the scary kind.
You are?
Yeah, I'm scary. See this here eye?
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful.
That's a blue eye, and I didn't wear my other blue eye. And
that
what?
Beautiful.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah.
And what that is the blue eye is a way to ward off other people giving you the evil eye. So it's a protective thing. See?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of sarcasm is going on right now and a lot of different things. How do y'all feel so far? How do y'all feel?
Because I believe in those principles that like, harmonics, vibration, and those kind of things.
This is kind of not what I'm looking for.
Easier for them to be an organized crime, because Hollywood really is an organized crime, but organized crime, ain't it?
It really is.
Look at the 12-year-old prostitutes that live on Hollywood Boulevard, that they keep the population under mind control and quiet. They want docile workers.
Yeah.
Like in China, docile workers. So we brought them in. They'll do it for 2. See ya.
Yeah.
Come out at the specific, I'm just talking about movies.
No, okay.
It's coming out and what it's saying, because a lot of times it's kind of a fortune-telling thing. And
I'm gonna find it, then we're gonna see that context. We done got a little context, but we're gonna see the rest of the context. I found the part that was actually right before the part we got there, which is interesting. So here it is. Here's I'm not gonna actually show what she's talking about. I'm just gonna give y'all a little context of it.
Horrified. I'd rather go with bullshit. It's easier.
And
like for the real truth that, and I'm glad that they did set up all these guidelines so that we only are allowed to speak the truth.
That's the line that proves that she was being sarcastic. Now, what she goes on to say is that 36 counties had 81 million people. And that's how Joe Biden won. Of course, that's not true. Just because you won 36 counties don't mean you can't vastly win other areas and other counties, right? If you win LA County and Los Angeles and lose the majority of other counties, but be close enough in those other counties, you win. Same thing in Las Vegas. Did you see the number of people that vote in that Marion County in Las Vegas versus the people around it? There's a lot more people in Las Vegas than in the rest of Nevada. Nevada almost a ghost land in every other county. Marion County is Arizona, my bad, but the same thing, Phoenix area. Yo, listen, it is a vastly bigger area than other counties. All you have to do is dominate 70 or 80% in the city and then win, 30% everywhere else, you still win. So this is actually a wrong connection, and this is my problem with the media. Instead of actually engaging with the conversation to prove how stupid what she was saying is, we rather just say, yo, she said this about these people, when she's clearly is being sarcastic. She's completely wrong, but she's being sarcastic. That is what the next thing she says in this video. This video is at 12:56, but at 13:43 is where we started this video at when we was looking. She is completely wrong. And instead of attacking the wrongness, we rather just present this thing to make her a villain. She might not be a villain, but she's kind of not the brightest tool in the shed. And so, I'm like, so they basically, as we see in this, took his podcast down for this, saying it's for hate speech because she said the dumb thing. Instead of being like, listen, this doesn't even make sense. Do you think we win an election off county vote? Or do you think we win an election off overall population centers? Yes, it does make sense if you include that 30 to 40% of the other counties voted for Biden, and while he won 80% of the massively bigger county. It makes complete sense. That's all I gotta do. Like and subscribe. My head hurts from all this craziness. Oh my God, y'all did take her out of context, but she's still How is everybody wrong? Like and subscribe, Pete. Basically, what I was saying.
Yeah, no, I disagree.
Basically, if you watched it, if you watched the part I put, because for some reason they are like, you put that other part in there, they don't like it. So I don't know. They took his podcast down. But what she was like, when they tell you what to think, like they tell you should do this and it's automatically right. So she tried to present it like that, and that you should automatically believe that 18 counties, 36 counties can get 81 million votes. It's a stupid argument. It's very dumb. Everything else she said in there, by the way, she did believe 100%. She think the people try to control her, and she thinks that they all trying to get her and all the other crazy stuff. I'm not saying that's sarcastic. I'm just talking about that one line that people.
But like, even the part that you're saying, where's the sarcasm? Sarcasm is funny, right? Like, it's
not funny.
You're making a joke, even if you're not laughing. Like, it's a type of joke that you could be making. You're commenting on reality, and the reason why it's sarcastic is because even though you're making the statement, like on face value of the words, you must believe it. It's very obvious based on context and whatever that what you're saying, you clearly don't believe that. Hence sarcasm. There's nothing that has been presented that would suggest she's being sarcastic. She's not. She believes all of these things. She's not joking about it. She believes it wholeheartedly, 100%. And every time that she's having this discussion, they always bring it back to something to do with her real life, where she really was fired from Hollywood. She really was this. She really was that. She believes all these things. Like, I'm not sure. No one took her out of context. The context doesn't make it better. It makes it worse, because then we get more information. Like, I'm sorry.
I agree with that, because the whole thing is stupid. But that's my whole thing. I want to argue how stupid she sounds fully. Because if you
but she doesn't sound stupid. She sounds like what she is, which is racist and ignorant, self-hating, but hating in general, and excited that because she's Jewish, she gets the pass, right? It's just like when Black people want to say terrible things about Black people, and they can because they're Black. It's the same pass that she gets because she's Jewish. She can say whatever she wants about Jewish people. That is actually a pass that people have, right? That's why in comedy, it's okay for you to make fun of your own. So it allows her to make fun of her own, but she's not joking. This is what she believes about Jewish people, okay? And the way that she has made that okay for herself is to distance herself and say, we're not real Jews, okay? We're Hollywood Jews. It's different than Jews. And even then, Hollywood Jews have ostracized me because, I'm not Jewish enough. So she has literally separated herself on purpose because she hates her own. So to me, there's no sarcasm. There was no taking her out of context. There was no, no, everyone called it 100% right. Like, she has always been hateful and vulgar and a whole bunch of things in her comedy, but it was very obvious that she was joking. Like, I know her humor very well. I watched every episode of the Roseanne show. Okay.
Why did you do that?
Oh no, because I liked it. It was one of my favorite shows. Oh, I love that show. Right. So I know her humor there. I've watched some of her comedy specials and stuff. I know her humor. She wasn't joking. There's no part of this that was she's telling a joke. I'm sorry. I just
I've never watched the comedy show, so Ruby might be right, but I just took two together and I didn't think she was ever funny. So I was like, oh, maybe she just like this that nobody laughs. And
no. Also, Vonda co-signed the original Becky was the best Becky, and it was funny because they realized that, and that's why they brought the original Becky back. Imagine being the replacement Becky, because original Becky wanted to go to school and live her life and whatever, and then like the last couple seasons come up and like you just get replaced by original Becky because everyone wants her back. For so many years, you tried to be new Becky, and just no one let it rock. Yeah, so that'd probably hurt people's feelings. Yeah, okay. So now my next two stories, guys, just wait for it, are not just male Karens, okay? They're mama's boys. Yeah, I know. Okay, let's watch.
Bless your heart.
Now, y'all, this is a classic example, yet again, of how people are treated differently based on certain phenotypical traits. And I know. The folks out there that always want to come up in the comment section and go, that's not true. This has nothing to do with race. I don't know why you want to make it about race all the time. Okay. Well, you know what? Listen, I guess you're going to evaluate for yourselves, aren't you? We love independent thought over here at I'll Be That News. Okay. And if you, by the way, would like to suggest a story, all you've got to do is email it to us. I'llBeThatNews@gmail.com. Okay. And we will 100%. Okay, well, we won't 100% for sure at it, but, we're going to definitely review it. And, we try to get as many suggestions in as we can. So again, that's I'llBeThatNews@gmail.com. This one is a suggestion. So shout out and thank you so much to Rosalind for this one. Oh my gosh. I'm surprised I missed this one. I'm absolutely surprised I missed this one. Let's take a look. Okay, y'all. Now this video is absolutely wild. Hold on to your hats. You guys ready? Okay, I'm ready. I think I'm almost ready. Okay.
Hello, how you doing? I'm Sergeant Cartwright, Bentleyville Police. The reason I'm stopping you is your tags have expired on this vehicle.
I'm working on it.
Okay, do you have a driver's license, proof insurance?
No.
You don't have a driver's license?
I really feel like he probably still lives with his mother. Like he's like one of those really old men, like 45, 50, who lives with his mom. Because he's responding like a bratty teenager, right? I'm working on it. And what does that have to do with anything? You think the law cares that you're working on it? No, you have to have not expired tags. You have to have a valid driver's license. Like these are not things you can just find negotiable because you're working on it. Shut up, Mom. Like I really think he's that kind of guy. Well, I guess we're gonna have to see as we go through it, but that's what it really reminds me of. And we're like 15 seconds in. Let's keep watching.
Or insurance on you?
No. I just got a job, dude. I'm just beginning to make money.
What's your social?
Can I leave?
No.
What's your social? What's your question?
Going to work tomorrow?
That's up to you. I don't know.
Right?
What's your social?
You're harassing me.
Oh.
What's your social?
Is that what's happening?
You chose to harass me.
What's your social?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Nice day. I'm having a nice day. Just leave.
Okay. This is where he's going to go nuts when he finds out the car's getting towed. Yeah, have you step out of the vehicle for me, okay? This vehicle's got to get towed. You're suspended. You have a warrant out of the Metro Parks.
You're a monster.
No, tell me what you will.
He's a monster
all right?
now.
But still, you can't drive suspended.
Can you absorb that instead of being like all...
No, it's absorbed, all right? So we're going to have you step out for me, all right?
Oh, my God.
You're not the registered...
He's one of those gaslighty, yucky people. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's like this in his relationships. You can see it. He's using tactics he uses on people around him, right? So in his romantic relationships with his mother, I'm guaranteed, I know now for sure, he's never held a steady job, and he lives in his mama's basement. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Y'all don't convince me of anything else. I know this man lives in his mama's basement. Okay.
Owner. You're not the right... Why? Let me ask you something. Why are you driving, then? You're not driving to work. You're driving to the park.
Because I have a life!
Calm down.
I have a life!
All right?
Leave me alone! Leave me alone! I have hobbies! I have people I like to see!
Okay, well, other people have to register a vehicle. Why makes you different than anybody else? Why? Why are you special and everybody else has to obey rules? Can you tell me that?
It's not about the rules.
Oh.
What is it about then?
It's about the rules being wrong.
Really?
Do you have a life?
Okay. No, I don't. Apparently I don't. Okay?
Are you sure?
I'm sure of that. Okay?
Things you do?
I want you to imagine a different demographic, okay? Getting so filled with rage in their car that they go like this and get up and start screaming, shaking. I want you to imagine that. Let's say a darker demographic. What do you think would have happened? You think the couple would have just been like, sit down, boy. Please? No. Tasers would have come out. Guns would have come out. If you're lucky, it would have just been a taser. If you're lucky, it would have just been a fist. Do you see what I'm saying? But no, he's still sitting there free as a jaybird. No cuffs on him, nothing.
I can even give you a courtesy ride back up to your mom's.
Yeah, that'd be lovely.
See?
Well,
see?
We're doing the best we can here. Okay?
I told you he lives with his mama. I knew it. I can smell it all over him. He's... Yay, Ruby! Ruby was right. Hashtag Ruby was right. Okay, let's keep going.
Okay.
The best you can do is not enough.
Well, and the best, what your best you could do is just let you drive away and just never to bother you.
Yes.
Just free to go, do whatever you want, right?
He's having a good day.
It doesn't work that way, Edison, all right? So, don't let go of my...
These are my possessions.
You're about to go to jail.
These are my
You want to go to jail? Do you want to go to jail?
Child.
I'm asking you. Do you want to go to jail? Right now. Either step out the car now.
What's the option, bro? What's the other option?
There isn't one.
Pull me out, bro.
You could have just behaved, but
You're
no.
gonna get tased. You're gonna go to jail. Stop it.
And we do not want to arrest you right now.
Don't want to arrest you.
So
Anderson.
what's the alternative?
Well, come on out the car so we could talk about the alternatives.
That's not the alternative.
All right.
That's not the alternative.
Your car's gonna be towed. Yeah.
Wrong.
You're gonna go to jail.
Bro. Are you
Step out of the car.
serious?
Tight, bro. Yeah.
Step
Pull
out
me
of
by
the car.
cup, bro. Yeah.
Step out of the car. Stop being like
Grab
this.
my other arm, bro.
You really need to grow up.
Right?
You really,
He really needs to grow up.
you really
Like,
need to grow up.
Can I tell you
Why?
You really need to grow up. Knock it.
Yeah. Eye for an eye, brother.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm glad.
What did he do? What did he do?
Fortunate.
Knock it off. Holy cow.
He didn't enjoy it. Maybe he spit on them or something, which is assault, right? And again, I want you to imagine any other demographic of human behaving this way. And what would have happened? Because for sure it would have been like, let's just pretend that he's still 8. Settle down, young man. Like, what? Okay.
How come you did this to the side of the door, Addison?
I was being apprehended in a manner that
That you didn't like, so you decided to scratch this door up, huh?
Correct.
Wow.
Because immediate
that's a lot of scratching.
So you're immediately punishing us by scratching our door.
I did, didn't I?
You did this in such a purposeful manner.
Yeah.
And he's admitting it. Like, it ain't nothing. Wow. Look at this. So he messes up the car. Now, he's at the police station, resists fingerprinting, destroys a computer mouse. Like, he's just destroying, vandalizing police property. Left, right, and center. Like, what? I mean, this is why it's wild. It is absolutely wild that this demographic, okay, these spoiled men, okay, not even just men. Let's be real, right? There's a bunch of spoiled Kens and Karens on this planet, okay, and they behave this way, and somehow it's like all they get the smacks on the wrist, and they get the "you should behave yourself, young man," and that's it. Like, what? That's all we doing? No wonder. No one has ever held that man accountable in his life. And that's why he thinks he can sit there and whine at the cops. Working on it. And that should be sufficient. You should be able to have your cake and eat it too. And that's what his mother's always allowed him to do. And that's why he lives in his mama's basement. Real talk. Let me know what y'all think about this wild Ken. And also let me know what y'all think about this very clearly unfair, imbalanced ways that some of us are treated by the police. And shout out, thanks again to Rosalind for this one.
Bless your heart.
I mean, it might seem like a joke, Fonda, but I mean, technically they instated Karen laws, right? Or anti-Karen laws, right? For calling the police like a Karen. So why not? Why can we not instate laws against this nonsense? Because I can't even. Like, if a human being, even if a child whined at me this way, oh, it makes me so angry in my soul. It makes me angry in my soul. Like, forget the fact for a second that the blatant discrimination that happens from the police towards young Black children. Forget white males who are adults who should know better. I'm working on it. Shut up, Dad. That's how he was going on, and it was just okay. It was just okay. Like, this is fine. We gotta talk to the youth. We can't just punish them hard. Come on. Let's talk to him nicely. I mean, he's only 55. Like, what?
I'm gonna take you to your mom's house, Edison.
Right? We're gonna drive you to your mama's. And they did. He was out 15 minutes later. I'm not even kidding. And then they drove him to his mom's. Bro, really? Really?
I was upset at most of this, and then I heard that "Leave Me Alone." I thought Lil Daryl from Ricky Smile, "Leave me alone," and that made me happy. I was like, I ain't heard that in a minute. Leave me alone. But he had a reason to be like that. Edison had no reason to be like that. Edison is a grown man.
Dude, this guy, I'm having a good day. I'm having a good day. Like, that was, like, I could not believe it. You could see it in my face. I could not believe what I was seriously seeing. Like, I still can't believe it. I can't believe this this is how a grown man really interacted with the police.
Yo, that scratch wasn't even little either. He wasn't even like a little white scratch to go through. He was like a dent. I'm like, oh no, you getting hit with the back of you getting pistol whipped. I was waiting for him to get pistol whipped. Oh, he finna hit him in the window. No.
Right? It's one of those times where you're hoping he does. You're like, yeah, I'll be on the police side. Trust me, I'll co-sign. Be like, yep, he had no choice. Like, or tased or something. What are you doing? Bro, you knew you had expired tags. You knew you had an expired license. You knew you shouldn't have been driving, but it's their fault. You're having a nice day. Okay, you're working on it. They should just go away. How dare they not absorb into their souls that they are monsters for upholding the law, because that's not their job or anything, right? No, you should have 100% tased him. Why is there no consequence? You can't you can't just do this. Like, oh my gosh. Like, if there's, and this is what I was saying to the commenter who was mad at me for the fact that I was pointing out in the Adarian case, 11-year-old Adarian who called the police to protect his mom and got shot by the same police he called. And I said there is a discrepancy, okay? And it specifically has to do with race. And people want to get mad and say, there's no difference. Really? Are you sure there's no difference? Are you sure? Because if you can find me one Black person that has ever behaved like this, and they didn't get tased, they didn't get shot, they didn't get beaten, they didn't get pistol whipped, and nothing bad happened to them, bro, find it. Go ahead.
Don't say Lil Daryl.
Lil
Lil Daryl is a skit. That's the only person I said Lil Daryl, the only person I ever seen do that to the police, and that was a skit. That was not real.
There you go.
That way you would never see nobody. You might well not even look. You can. I encourage you to waste your time and spend hours upon hours not finding something. But speaking of police violence, Ruby, we had an incident overseas. It's happening everywhere. Let's go watch it. Listen, the world is messed up and police is still making a lot of mistakes. As you saw in the intro, somebody need to lose their job. Why? Because a 17-year-old boy was shot. Now, there have been arguments on both sides, whether police was justified or wasn't. Some of the arguments to me are asinine, but we're going to let the process play out. And the people in France are upset. Very well so, as best people think. They should be upset, a lot of people think. And the question to you is, do you believe they had a right to shoot a boy who was endangering people's lives by not having a license and all the other situation that drove out into the street and could have caused harm? Or the police should have more attack and been able to subdue him beforehand? I'm more on the latter. I think the police should be able to do their job and make sure he gets out the car when he stops and have that advantage rather than do what they did, because I don't think it's like, was him driving illegally or any of that worse? The young man getting shot over, losing his life over? Like, I don't agree what he did, because he clearly did something wrong and was in trouble and no telling what the situation was, but it didn't mean forfeit his life. We're going to go over the story and watch how France is losing his mind.
President Emmanuel Macron has convened his cabinet for a crisis meeting again this morning after a third night of protests. People across the country are expressing outrage over the fatal police shooting of a teenager during a traffic stop Tuesday. More than 600 people were arrested and over 200 police officers were injured. CBS News.
Listen, that is very violent. Shout out to CBS News for this report. But this man has already been in trouble before. We see the president of what's his name, Macron. He has been yelled at, fussed at, promised he was going to do better, and then this happens again. And it seems like every 4 or 5 months, France set his cities on fire.
News correspondent Elaine Cobb is following this for us from Paris.
Y'all see
Elaine,
that?
good morning.
Y'all see, they missed that. Was that a bus?
Good morning, Wendy.
How widespread was the violence overnight, Elaine?
It was very widespread. It has definitely escalated since Tuesday night when there were small protests after the killing of the 17-year-old during a traffic stop.
Y'all see that one right there? That one? Beside with a girl riding a bike. They missed that city up in Paris.
Nearly 700 people were arrested around the country, and most of them were aged between 12 and 17. The age range.
They're arresting 12-year-olds in France? Yo, do you know how psycho you gotta be? Yo, 12-year-olds and 17-year-olds in France are real. They said we burning this to the ground. 712 to 7, most, but not saying 712 to 17-year-old, but the majority 12 to 17-year-old. Insane.
Out in the streets is so young. They are of the generation of Nael, who was killed, and they have been rioting across the country in already tense suburbs like around Paris, Marseille, Lyon and Lille, but also inside the cities like here inside Paris, where I am now. And people are a bit concerned that it's just getting bigger. So nearly 300.
Yeah, they are getting more and more people. They got the big boy. They brought in the big boy truck right there. They got the fires going. 12 and 17-year-old doing more damage than the grown people in America. Yo, y'all American be complaining about George Floyd, right? That's tame compared to the little 12-year-olds in France messing up. Yo, man, they in the suburbs, burning down the suburbs. America, the police are probably in so many people.
100 police were injured last night, and
Wait, they say 300 police was injured? Let's go back.
Last night, and where I am now. And people are a bit concerned that it's just getting bigger. So nearly 300 police were injured.
Yo, 12 and 17-year-old messing up the police?
Last night. And Macron, as you said, is holding his crisis meeting to see just how many more police do you need on the streets to try to restore order, because they had already put 40,000 on the streets of France last night. And
40,000 police?
It clearly wasn't enough.
What's the sentiment towards the police right now in France?
There is a lot of distrust, and the way the violence spread from the first night from the suburb of Nanterre, which has a high immigrant population, a high number of social housing projects, it spread to similar suburbs around the country. Places like Marseille, where there's already a huge gangland problem.
Now listen, the police don't do their job. People don't feel protected. They feel like you more of a threat than a protection. That ain't a good look for the police. That is not a good look for the police. And that's everywhere. It seems like the police is mistrusted. And a lot of times the police are not trained well. They don't know how to handle situations well. And oftentimes they do things and people don't trust them. And then you got a lot of dirty police too. So not only do you got the ones that ain't trained well, then you got the dirty ones who know what they're doing, but they just do evil things. So now it looks like the few competent police tend to like, oh, we're not gonna say nothing, and then it just makes police look bad.
To Lyon, to Lille, where the immigrant population that first arrived in the 50s and 60s was put in new suburbs, and they now have had
they busted this man's head wide open.
Children, some grandchildren who've grown up in the system and don't understand why Mohammed cannot get the job that Pierre is getting. And so there's huge unemployment, particularly among young men in these areas. And that's why a lot of them are around and unhappy and have nothing else to do, frankly.
I see.
If you got people that don't have nothing to do, they're not getting jobs, they're coming bad, you're gonna have a lot more riots. I always say this about COVID, why there's not as many riots now in America, because most people going to work. We ain't got a riot when we go to work. As you see in this situation, unemployment is high in these areas. So they just going out messing stuff up. Why? Let's go loot. And it's expected. That's like in any country, by the way. The poor people and the people ain't got jobs. You shut the country down and then they see something that make them mad, they more entitled to do something. And who's to say that's a good or bad thing? Y'all let me know in the comments.
That burned out vehicle behind you. What happened in the area where you are?
There was a lot of violence last night. This is not far from the edge of Paris. They've burnt down a bus station, 2 cars right behind me. There are more up ahead, and just up the road, an entire fleet of buses, public buses, was torched. Now, that is something that's going to hit the local community, and many of the adults here are saying, look, you know, this is not good. But we saw a few good moments too. Early yesterday evening, there was a building that was torched with, they launched fireworks at it, and it was at a bank, but the fire spread all the way through the rest of the building, which was apartments, and there were young guys just rushing through the flames into the building or climbing up the side to smash windows open to warn the inhabitants that they should get out now.
Yeah, it's like you cause a problem. That might be the young people that didn't cause a problem. Somebody set a fire and then they couldn't control it. But again, you was setting buildings on fire, but at least they was good enough to save them, right? They was good enough to help them, but I don't know how I feel about this. I'm kind of on the fence. This young man shouldn't have been shot. He should nowhere near been in this situation. Again, police is not being well equipped to handle the situation. I understand they're in traffic stop. Oh, some illegal might have been too comfortable in their job, and then I'm just not gonna try to chase anything. But by the way, I understand it could have been dangerous. He could have been. I don't know the whole. I think somebody said he might have been drinking, and I don't know the age of consent to drink down there, but he could have been drinking, or he could have. I know his license was suspended, which is interesting for a 17-year-old because he just got his license. Like, I don't know a lot about French stuff, but I know the kid shouldn't have lost his life over whatever the reason for it. But at the same time, he probably did something wrong. So but I'm like, so do people lose their homes? I always ask this, how do you fix the system? How do you continually fix a system that's broken, and the only thing you can do is break things to fix a broken system? Y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think, because I don't know. Y'all let me know. Ruby, what do you think about this situation in France going on? I couldn't show everything because a lot of it is like really insane and you can't show everything. But the parts I could show, the news reports and some of the burning buildings and cars and police buses.
Well, and I mentioned this to Zell before the show because I've been thinking about it a lot because I've actually been covering, just keeping track of a lot of stuff that's happening in France right now. And it started with the non coupable protest, which was basically a topless women's protest, which honestly was very, very misunderstood because it was a lot of video of, topless women with words in French on them, chanting in French. And the English speakers on TikTok had no idea what it was about. They just thought, ooh, naked boobies. And we're running with that. And so, they were already doing these huge protests before the shooting happened. Right. That had to do with a minor being sexually assaulted. And then, so I think that the tensions were already really, really raised by the time you had the shooting happen. And so that's why it very quickly escalated to the place that it's at now, where like France is burning and it just is what it is. And everyone's kind of a little, not like unbothered, but like it's very escalated. And, it was making me think we should probably start like a Patreon or an OnlyFans, one or the other. And I'll be that OnlyFans or I'll be that Patreon, one or the other. But the reason why is so that way we could do an in-depth focus and show you guys the footage of these things. Because we can't show that on YouTube. Like, we just can't. We can't even show it on Rumble or any of these other platforms, right? Because it's a little too much for them. But I think sometimes seeing is believing, and you need to see to really know and understand, because you hear so much racist rhetoric and ideology about when Black Americans want to burn something down because of the insanely unfair racist treatment that they've received for hundreds and hundreds of years in the country, right? So I just find it amazing that, it's almost like stuff like this gets brushed under the rug normally, like when other countries do it. And I really feel like we need to actually focus on it and be like, no, this is actually a normal response that people from around the world have been responding when the powers that be and, you know, their henchmen in essence are treating the populace unfairly, right? I mean, like that's what it is. When you think you can gun people down unfairly or whatever, right? So I'm kind of glad like that they're reacting in this way and that, you know, the media is getting to our side of the world. You know, I just wish that we could focus more on it without us like literally losing our channel. So, you know, I'll be that Patreon or I'll be that OnlyFans. Might be coming soon. I'm just saying. Behind a paywall, it's always okay.
Behind the paywall. But yeah, Macron been in trouble. We see Roseanne bring it up. Another problem they had. France has had a giant problem. They had a nationwide strike earlier this year. They also have an immigrant problem where the immigrants do not feel like they are accepted in society. So they are very upset, which this set them off completely. Because from what I read and what I'm hearing, they feel very isolated. They treat them completely outside, and they feel like they don't get jobs. All the regular French people get jobs, so they're like, oh, we immigrated here. And even in America, they might get the lowest paying job, but they can feed their family. But these people, as you can see, a lot of these kids weren't working, as they stated, and a bunch of other things. So they were like, we're not having it no more. You said we part of this country, we're gonna be part of this country, and you don't treat us like human, so we're taking off. And Macron is having a lot of issues with women, everyone. So they're looking like they're trying to get him out, but we don't know how they're gonna do it yet.
I don't know. I guess all we can do is follow up, and again, maybe start a Patreon and OnlyFans. That's all I'm saying. We really might do that. Like, I don't think that there's a whole lot of options other than that. So, but I would like to definitely go into it because like I have a whole bunch of footage. Like every time someone posts it, I pull it before it like, you know, disappears. So yeah, just saying. Now, before we get into all of these discussion of deep topics, and y'all get ready, okay? Y'all make sure y'all get ready. Because it is a call-in show, okay? So as of once we're done to Karen, we are now in the place where it is the call-in show where you guys can pick up your phones on the internet and click on the link and you can call in and speak your piece about anything we talked about today. You know, we also do have a specific topic of discussion, but doesn't mean you can't bring up anything else we talked about today or anything in the last week, actually, if you would like to speak your piece on it. So y'all just start getting ready for that as you listen in to the male Karen, because I have another one for you. Now, the gentleman on the screen is not the male Karen, okay? He just experienced the male Karen. And if you remember, what did I say? I said, our male Karens today are what? Mama's boys. That's right. So in this case, we're going to know that he's a mama's boy. Why? Because mama appears. Because of course she appears. All right. Let us take a look. It's going to be lovely, y'all. It's going to be lovely.
Shit is real, man. People are insane.
Bro, what are you doing right now?
I talked to the office. Do not film me. You have no permission to film me. Do not film me. Seriously, bro?
Get your hands off of me, motherfucker. I will knock you the fuck out.
Seriously.
Put your hands on me again, I will fucking eat you.
Do not film me. Do not film me. Do not, really?
Get the fuck out of my fucking space, man. Go have a fucking 4th of July weekend or whatever you're doing, you weirdo.
Now, I want to point out, right, that first of all, we've talked about this. Public space, public place, you are allowed to film. There's no expectation of privacy. If you don't want to be on someone's camera, what you should do is walk away. What you should not do is continue to confront them, because if you do, you are literally proving that the reason of I need to film to protect myself is 100% valid. Oops. Sorry about that, Ken. So anyway, right? Now remember, at this point, Ken is vested because he was trying. He was really trying. He was like, and that wasn't working out, right? So you think, all right, he went away. Did he? Or did he just get someone far more powerful than himself? I wonder who that could be. Let's keep watching.
You do not touch another human being and you leave.
He touched me.
You move.
Do you understand?
You
You understand English. You're breaking the rules. You need to
Who are you?
park here.
Who are you?
That's not your business.
It is my business. Do you work
Don't
here?
film me or I will.
Don't you dare touch
Don't
me.
you? I didn't touch you.
Don't
You're
you
a liar.
touch me. Don't.
You're a liar.
Keep your hands to yourself.
You keep the front.
Why do you
camera
have to
away.
reach? What are you doing with your hands?
I saw what you did to my son. It is unacceptable for
What
you
did I
to
do with your
that.
son? What did I do?
I saw. I'm no need to.
You see, Karen likes to lie. Okay, she said, "I saw what you did to my son." This was 5 minutes later. You know why? Because he went and he ran into his house. Well, mommy, the mean guy did this to me, and then he hit me, and then he was trying to film me, and all I tried to do is get him to not film me. Mommy, that's what happened, right? So now she's gonna come on lie, like, bro, we can see what can be seen from the window, and nobody was there. She didn't see nothing. She didn't see nothing, right? But she's a liar. Why? Because she's raised a little mini her in male form. Let's keep watching.
Tell you.
Tell me what you saw.
I'm not going to
Your
dignify.
son, you're scaring my
Get-
cat.
Get out of here.
You're scaring
and
my
get out.
cat.
Get out of here.
No.
Get out of here. You are not supposed to be here. It says 8
What
to
are you,
4.
the fucking camp police?
Don't call me a name and get out of here.
You're calling yourself
Yeah,
names.
Call me a name.
Yeah, I have my own name. I'm not calling myself by my own
What's your
name.
name?
I don't
Karen?
need to.
Karen?
That's not. That's stupid.
It is stupid. You're being the fuck are you reaching into my car?
Don't you dare
I will.
swear at me. Get out of
You
here.
come-
you are not allowed.
You come
here.
close to me again, I will fucking eat you.
You swing at me, I will call the police.
I didn't say I would swing at you.
Do
I
anything
said I would
to
eat
me,
you.
You do
What
anything
is
to me,
your
I
kid?
will call the police.
If that's your
Get,
kid,
I don't care what
your
you said.
kid,
Get
your
out
kid
of
reached
here.
in and grabbed
Get,
from my
no,
phone.
Get, because
Who
you don't
said
have a right
anything
to
about
film us.
swinging at
You don't have a right to
no
come over
right
to my car.
You have no right to film us. You have no right to film us. Get out of here. You're sorry, but out of here. You do not belong here. You do not have a right to be here. You need to leave. Get that camera away. Okay, then I'm opening the door.
Bro. No, I need a minute. I need a second. This woman has tried to reach into that car countless times. Trying to act like she's not gonna touch him. You're literally almost by definition, if you reach for that man's phone, you're gonna touch him. But you're saying you're not gonna. And she keeps doing it. She's realizing like it doesn't matter what she does, she's not gonna be able to get the phone. So she opens his car door. Is it illegal to open someone's car door? Because I honestly feel like it should be illegal to open someone's car door. I can't even believe this just happened. I honestly can't believe she just opened this man's car door. This is a big man, and you just opened his car door, bro. Anyhow, you now touch that man, you've given him free reign to hurt you. What is wrong with Karen, right? But when the mama Karen comes out, I don't know, let's keep watching. Oh my God, I can't even watch this.
You get the camera
I will
off me.
fucking
Don't you
annihilate
dare.
you.
No, you won't. Because you know what? I have Jesus on my side, and Jesus rules over everybody.
I have
everything.
Satan.
You know what? Jesus is more powerful than Satan, and Satan will never stand up.
Satan.
At the end of the day, don't you say that horrible name. Get out of
Satan
here.
and
I'm sorry, I just don't believe Jesus is on her side. I just don't. I do not believe that Jesus is on the side of this type of behavior. I don't. Okay.
Donald Trump are on
You know
my
what?
side.
No, Donald Trump would never be on your side.
I got him in the
Never.
trunk right now.
No, you are an asshole. Get out! And don't
That
say
is
anything
true, he
like
is,
that.
yeah.
Give me that phone. Give me that phone.
Like, will you get the fuck out of here, you
Stop
crazy
filming.
bitch?
I am not.
Get out of
Get
here.
out of here. You don't.
You're not
do
crazy?
it. No.
What's your definition of crazy?
I don't have to answer your question. You know, that's what stupid liberal and satanic worshipers do. They ask questions.
Oh, you're one of them
You're the one
California
that kept saying-
satanic.
Stop it. You are a Satan believer and a Satan worshiper, and you don't deserve to be on earth.
I don't
Get
deserve
out.
to be
No, you
on
don't.
earth.
Well,
No,
then.
you don't.
Wow.
If you worship Satan, you do not deserve to be here.
Wow.
Get out.
But like, I mean, the logic of judge not lest you be judged, or the fact that, like literally, if you believe in Satan, a Lucifer, then you should be destroyed off of earth, right? But like from that same logic, then when Lucifer fell, instead of just letting him fall, wouldn't God have just destroyed him? Like, I don't know. I mean, I just kind of really feel like these self-righteous types, like they don't even like apply the rules of the Bible and what happened in it to the things that they're saying to the people that they don't like in this moment. Because by the way, this, if we want to know what sarcasm is, okay, this dude is being sarcastic all over. Okay, he doesn't mean anything he's saying. He's saying things just to spite her. Okay, this is sarcasm. Let's watch the last 6 seconds.
Out of here. Get out of here.
Well, as soon as I'm done worshiping Satan, I'll leave. Yo. What the?
Love it. Absolutely loved it. Okay. I really think that this is what you do. Okay. And to me, this is sarcasm now. Okay. When you tell people, when you say something, and you very clearly don't mean it. You can hear it in his way. He clearly doesn't mean it. But like this psycho woman is taking everything he says very seriously and whatever, because she hates him, right? Because, you know, he didn't give her boy his own way. I mean, I don't even know. At this point, we don't even know what actually happened. What do you think, Zal?
Listen, when he called Mama Karen, he like, yo, I'm finna go evolve like a Pokemon. Like he just was in the wild and he saw a weird Karen. It was a male, and then he ran away and then evolved and came back stronger. Because the first Karen, the male Karen, wasn't finna open the door because he ain't strong enough. He's scary. So he evolved into a more privileged version.
It's so true.
They got God on their side.
Pokeballs like from Pokemon. Is that what you're talking about?
He was.
You know what's jokes? Mama Rubes today just said that Pokemon means demon in some Chinese language, and therefore Pokemon are demonic. Because I have like this Pikachu toy, right? And my friend's daughter loves the little Pikachu toy, and it normally like it lights up and makes sounds and stuff. It just needs new batteries. And so anyway, but Mama Rubes was saying that it was like demonic and whatever. And I'm like, Mom, it doesn't mean demon. That's not what that's just not what it is, right? So it's just hilarious that you then bring up Pokeballs today of all days, because like literally this just happened, like right before we came on the stream, like yeah, right before. So
he said he was a demon. He worshipped Satan and everything.
And then you go bring up Pokeball. So now you just reinforce this nonsense in my mom's head. Good job. So
I support you.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I mean, you want to see the weak, ineffectual male, and how the weak, ineffectual incel male, who is a mama's boy, clearly is literally still a child, and his elderly mother is more of a man than he'll ever be. I mean, dude, that's why you can't get any play, not because of modern women, because of that. That is embarrassing. Okay.
What if he tell his mom that he can't? She didn't like me, Mom. It's okay. You're a perfect son. Jesus loves you.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah,
hey, that's a good excuse. Jesus loves
you. Yeah. So to the discussion topic.
Let's get into it. Let's talk about SCOTUS.
Okay.
Oh, let me shrink this a little bit so we can see it better. Hold up.
Okay, I'll just remove myself until I have something to say.
Okay. Well, today we are talking about the Supreme Court. They had 3 rulings this week that has affected most Americans. We're going to talk about affirmative action. Then we're going to talk about not potentially. They discriminate. You are allowed to discriminate against gay people if you are religious purposes, apparently. And the third one is the student loan debt is diminished. Last week, I gave them credit for doing something somewhat good. I still had to go to a Fifth Circuit clerk, but that's the federal government, meaning the federal government can affect those laws. But we're going to talk about how we feel about how they did affirmative action. Matter of fact, I'll just put it up here so y'all can see, and then we'll just come in whenever it's time. But no, I want let's keep it like this. Okay. But they are talking about affirmative action. This is the first one we're going to go over, and then we're going to progressively go through the other 3. And y'all let us know you can join. I'm going to put the StreamYard link in the chat. Let me go get it. So if anybody wants to come in, they can as this video plays.
Supreme Court is now striking down both Harvard and UNC's program when it comes to race used in admissions. The court going forward in their decision saying they're going to set new limits on the use of race when it pertains to a particular student must be part of their individual story and not simply their identity.
The Supreme Court has ruled to narrow the scope in which race can be used to determine admissions in the nation's universities and colleges. Now, how was this case brought about? Just to go back, give you the context. Students for Fair Admissions, a conservative group, sued Harvard University and the University of North Carolina over their race-conscious admissions programs, alleging intentional discrimination toward Asian American applicants. So the court held in an opinion for the conservative majority written by Chief Justice John Roberts that Harvard and UNC's admissions programs violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. And that was the constitutional argument that the plaintiffs brought forward in this case. And the Supreme Court justices, the majority of them agreed with that. The vote was 6-3 in the UNC case and 6-2 in the Harvard case, with Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson recusing herself in the Harvard case specifically. Now, both programs, according to John Roberts, who's the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, lack sufficiently focused and measurable objectives warranting the use of race, unavoidably employ race in a negative manner, involve racial stereotyping, and lack meaningful endpoints. We have never permitted admissions programs to work in that way, and we will not do so today. Now, race can still be considered, although in a far more limited way in the admissions process, and I'll explain how that works in just a moment. Before I do, Cenk, what do you think about this ruling?
Okay, brace for impact, I agree with it. So I've actually said that I'm against affirmative action probably dozens of times on this show, but nonetheless, people are surprised whenever you go outside of orthodoxy. So I think affirmative action was definitely correct in the beginning. I'll give you a quick example of why. So for example, if you're, just pick a random profession, you're a longshoreman, you got a good job, it pays decent wages back then, right? It started in the 1960s. And you want to pass your job on to your kids. That makes sense. I get it. I get your motivation behind it. But at the time, only white people had those jobs. So they would constantly pass their jobs on to other white people, their kids, which again, as a parent, I get it. But we had to allow minorities to break into that system. And we had to do that at every level for jobs, universities, etc., because folks did not have an opportunity, okay? But after a while, it becomes stigmatizing. So I'll give you another anecdote. When I was in law school, I remember back then I was a Republican, and I remember being with a couple other Republican students, and I said about one of our classmates and someone who I was friends with, but they didn't know that. They said, "Oh yeah, I wonder how he got in here." And I thought, and I said, by being a great student. But for them, every minority, it doesn't matter if they went to Harvard, Princeton, where, Yale, Stanford, nothing mattered. It was disqualified because of their race. Oh, they didn't earn it. And I think that has had a massively corrosive effect in this country against minorities. So I think it has now become counterproductive. I agree with the Supreme Court's decision. I have more on that, but that's.
Ruby, I do want to know your thoughts on that before I state mine. I want to know what your thoughts on what he said and how you feel about that, because I know you said you did some research on it.
Well, yeah, because it's bullshit. What did I do? Hold on. Wait. There you go. Okay, yeah. So it's bullshit. In simpler terms, I'll explain why it's bullshit. Okay. So they have already done this. Okay. So in California schools, if y'all remember, I don't know if you remember Proposition 209. Yeah. Okay. And so Prop 209, when they reversed they reversed or banned whatever affirmative action, okay, when it came to school admissions. And what we saw, okay, is that Black admissions, they were hurt a little bit. But do you know which demographic was hurt the worst? White people, with white women being the worst affected, okay? Do you know who benefited the most? Asian people. Okay, because if we were going solely by performance, it was Asian people who solely performed better. Okay.
By the way, no, the Asian person brought this case up to the Supreme Court is the thing.
Yeah, but see, it doesn't matter.
I just want to know why.
No, but it doesn't matter, right? Yeah. Because the reason why people say do these things is because they don't actually understand what they're talking about. And they don't actually understand, first of all, they don't even understand what affirmative action is. Neither does Jenk. I'm listening to him not understand what affirmative action is, okay? And because there's always been intentionally misleading information about what affirmative action really is. People have always had this misunderstanding that it was a way, and it's from all groups, including Black people, have had this misunderstanding that somehow or another it was going to allow Black people who didn't otherwise academically, they didn't rate high enough to get in, but we are going to allow them in because of other factors and because we need to make our race quotas. That's what people believed affirmative action was, and it never was that, okay? There is a bar that everyone must meet in order to get into that school, okay? Everyone who gets into the school meets that bar. In fact, everyone who applies to that school, right, and meets that bar, guess what? Only like 10, 20% of those applications can ever be accepted. There's not enough room for everyone else, okay? That means they're going to have to choose from another process of elimination, given the fact that we have too many graduates who all have the exact same qualifications, okay? And we cannot accept all of them. How do we weed out, right? How do we get rid of some of these applicants, okay? Or how do we choose some of these applicants? That is what affirmative action is, okay? It is a system by which we are evaluating people. First, there's a standard. The standard is here. If you haven't met the bar, you can't get in. The end, you can't, okay? And most of the people who complain, they didn't meet the bar, okay? And the people who got in did. It's always like that. Okay. And then what ends up happening is what? From there, now we have to evaluate other factors. Okay. So they evaluate other things. For example, did you come from hard times? Did you come from a place where, hey, no one helped you study for the SATs? That would actually make the fact that your SAT scores were through the roof, that would make that more impressive, right? Or if you're the first generation to go to college, the fact that you perform so well, that would make that impressive, right? Because you don't have a family member who could have coached you. So that's what they were using. Right. And yes, race was also a factor. It was also a factor. Right. We need to have not just race, but gender. Right. We need to have more inclusivity. OK, so we can't just allow the schools 96% Asian coming in or 97% white coming in. And that's it. We can't allow for that to happen. It's not even representative of the demographic outside. OK, so we're trying to make admissions fair and to reflect the society under which we are accepting people. So Black people have never really been accepted into school in some unfair way. Okay, they haven't, right? But if we look at who has been unfairly given like prosperousness as a result of affirmative action, who wins? White women. So who suffers then if we get rid of affirmative action? White women. Now, do Asian people benefit? Yeah, right? They do. They're going to benefit if you get rid of affirmative action. They are going to benefit initially. But eventually, that's going to taper out because you know what's going to happen is that's when all of the corruption that was happening before affirmative action comes back in. And then soon Asian people are going to be at an even lower admission standard. And it's not going to be over race at all. They're going to say it's over something else. Well, we just wanted the people who do sports more, and we wanted people who really like the good old boys club and can play golf, right? And they're going to take race out of it, even though they put even more race in it, so it can benefit who? Because they're not trying to benefit fairness or merit. They're not. That's just what it is. I'm sorry. I'm a little passionate about this subject because as a psychologist and as someone who has taken the courses on psychometrics, I understand this a lot more than other people do. Sorry.
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say this just purely political thought processes. So let me go through political thought process. I've been preparing y'all for this for 2 weeks, by the way. And Ruby has too. That's why I always say I agree with Ruby. That's why I brought up the older video of Dr. Umar talking about don't vote and how that affects you and how your local governments, because now, hopefully this is a wake-up call because I said I agree with Ruby. And what Ruby said is they can take your rights away at any time.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people's rights might have been taken away right now. So hopefully this is a wake-up call that, listen, yes, you should vote. Yes, you should probably vote locally because that's going to affect your life. Remember I brought up the school boards and the people in office whom you should vote for? And last week I brought up how they are trying to make a 33% black area only become like 8 to 12% of the vote actually count. And guess what that directly affects? College funding. And they won't, by the way, Sync does mention this when you talk about legacy. They're not doing away with legacy because some reason that's more protected. And my kids have to do that because we have power and influence. And I'm the governor and I'm the senator. So my son has to go to this nice school without merit, by the way. He can be the lowest on the list, but because of legacy, he gets in. So this was a wake-up call. You knew it was going to happen. They have a majority in the Supreme Court. Hey, why do we need to vote during the midterm? Well, they put people in. Why do you have to vote locals? Now it's more important than ever because you need people on a school board and your local aldermen and every place else to be on your side. So if half of black people like, we're not voting because it don't matter, now it matters more than anything. Because overall, if you wake up, this could motivate a lot of people. But if you don't, we're going backwards. So
Which is exactly what happened. For the record, what happened in California schools after the initial proof of the fact that affirmative action wasn't really helping black people at all, definitely was helping white women. What happened is then black admissions this is after I told you the corruption kicks back in, the Good Old Boys Club kicks back in, and legacy kicks back, all that other stuff kicks back in. Guess what happened? Black people were affected by what? 50% drop? Since then, from then until now, the last 25 years, 50% drop in admissions. You think just black people just got dumber? You think that's what happened? Because they didn't. They literally have the exact same qualifications as everyone else who got in. So then what? Right? This is the thing. Like no one, again, buying in, and I knew it was going to be so harmful to allow people to buy into that lie that people who were unqualified were getting into colleges and universities and bumping people who had better qualifications and better grades out. It was never true. It was never, ever true. Ever.
100%. I actually agree with Ruby. Hey, listen, like I said, I think if people wake up, it could be a great thing. But will you wake up? Because that's why I pointed out the black areas, as we saw in the video I put out 2 weeks ago, we can link it after this or whatever. Black people who put people in charge of their area that look like them did better versus when they weren't. School boards, local government, jobs, everything. But again, when you don't vote, you get a Supreme Court that is vastly against it, and then you don't have it anymore. So like I stated, Ruby said, they can take it away anytime. So if you do Dr. Umar's way or anyone else's, and let's say they're not as fair as they were in the Louisiana case. Let's say they were completely political. Clarence Thomas, he'll sell out, even though he is an affirmative action baby, by the way. That's amazing because he actually was, and he did it at a time when they weren't letting him in, but he got helped by it. So now he's on the court saying going against it. So that's interesting. But now it's important for you to vote, and I don't know if y'all taking that task quite like y'all should, but hopefully you will. Because it's gonna be a thing. Shout out to the Gray Pill podcast. I put the link in the chat if anybody want to come up and talk about the Supreme Court, affirmative action, higher education, and anything like that. We will get into the gay rights one, and then if we have time, we'll get into the student loan one, which the first one and the last one affect me, and I know it affects all of us, all three of these. So, anything else you have on this, Ruby?
No. Not yet.
Okay. We're gonna watch a little more of this. I want to get to his point of what he had about putting it in class, which is always read Ed Bloom. Shout out to Roseanne for that. Read about Ed Bloom. And by the way, if you want to read about what Ruby's talking about, 1996, California did away with affirmative action. It affected black people across the board, specifically in their two top colleges, UCLA and UC Berkeley. It devastated black population in there. So USC didn't do it as much because it's more of a public college, but everything else. So if anybody want to get in there, just let me know in the chat if y'all want to come in and talk about this. I know Greg Peel and a few other people want to talk about it, but we'll look at a little more of this and get his opinion on that, and then we'll move on because we know we have this is a 46-minute video, and I don't.
My initial.
So I want to talk about how they did limit the scope in which race can be considered, right? So for instance, what the justices argue, or at least Chief Justice John Roberts, is that the struggles or the challenges or whatever the applicant has gone through as a result of their race can be considered. And how would it be considered? Well, there are multiple ways. One of the main ways could be through their essay. Now, those who disagree with the decision here argue, well, then that forces students of color to write their essays about race. Maybe they wanted to write their essays about something else. But nonetheless, I do want to give you some more details on that. Roberts wrote, Chief Justice Roberts wrote, at the same time, as all parties agree, nothing in this opinion should be construed as prohibiting universities from considering an applicant's discussion of how race affected his or her life, be it through discrimination, inspiration, or otherwise. And someone named David Hinojosa, who argued the case before the court, said that while the ruling did, quote, make it heck of a lot harder to use race as a factor in admissions, it would not totally prevent universities from pursuing diversity goals similar to affirmative action. He told the New York Times this, comparing this ruling to the reversal of Roe v. Wade. As you all know from last summer, when this court wants to overrule precedent, it knows how to overrule precedent, and that language is not in Chief Justice Roberts' opinion, he said, referring to the court's sweeping decision overturning Roe v. Wade. The court said that it has permitted race-based admissions only within the confines of narrow restrictions. University programs must comply with strict scrutiny. They may never use race as a stereotype or negative, and at some point they must end.
Yeah, so all right, first of all, I again agree with them. I think it definitely should be considered within the context of the essay. They should not use the essay as a proxy. Wink, wink, tell me about your race and I'll let you in. But as long as they're taking a genuine look at the essay, oftentimes what you have overcome is probably the #1 indicator, in my opinion, of whether you'll be successful in school or anything else. Honestly, when I interview people for employment here at TYT, that's my #1 question. Well, tell me some adversity you had and how you overcame it. Because that tells you the character of a person and how hard they're gonna work and how they're gonna persevere, etc. And that'll get you, the size of the fight in the person is by far the most important thing. And oftentimes that is told in an essay. And oftentimes it is overcoming some sort of racial boundary or income boundary.
Can't hear you.
I was saying that sounds like let's strap them up by your bootstraps. So I was just saying that's what they sound like.
Which then leads me to saying, I think the much better way to go, and I think they should use this, is class-based affirmative action rather than race-based affirmative action. And I know that a lot of people will say, okay, enough with affirmative action, period, right? And others will say, no, it has to be race-based. But I don't know why, a poor white kid in Appalachia, it doesn't have a bigger disadvantage than, the Obama kids in Martha's Vineyard. Sorry. Okay, so I know that's gonna make a lot of people uncomfortable. Doesn't mean race is not relevant. I understand the context of race, and I understand how it's a disadvantage. Having said that, in these contexts, I think class is a giant disadvantage. I think the poor are overwhelmed by the rich.
Right.
And then that leads me to the last point here in this context, Anna, sorry. Legacy admissions. Legacy admissions are an abomination. And they help the rich more than anyone else. It's when you're an alumni of a school, and your kid applies, they have a far better chance of getting in. By the way, we have a petition about that, and you can see the link in the description box, tyt.com/petitions, and legacy admissions, because it's way worse than affirmative action.
Yeah, I mean, look, just going back to the point that you made about class, I think class is a better indicator of the struggles that a student had to overcome in order to get to the point that they're at as they're applying for college admissions. So what I think made me support affirmative action, or the part of affirmative action that I thought, let me reword this. The strongest case I heard in support of affirmative action really had to do with, the fact that Black and Latino students are overrepresented when it comes to lower socioeconomic statuses, right? And with that means you don't have the extra money or the extra resources for, special tutoring outside of school, right? Or for extra lessons on how to take the SAT test and how to excel at the SAT test, right? Those types of classes, that type of instruction is very, very expensive. And we know how education is funded in some districts, right? A lot of it relies on property taxes. Other states have found better ways to kind of fund public schools, so it's far more equal, but that's not the case in every state. And so I liked that argument, but I think it's a mistake to tie that argument simply to race. I think that argument works better when you focus on class. Yeah. Because as you mentioned, there are plenty of disadvantaged, poor white kids as well who have to go through a lot and have to fight a lot harder in order to get the kind of education and gain the kind of merit necessary to get accepted into these universities.
So some are
interested in this argument. I was interested if they do decide to do class. I would want to see a research on that or anything like that. Like how will you actually do it? Because Ruby explained how they did race. How would you do class per se? Because
it's easy because you can just look at the fact that Black people are disproportionately lower class, just like Latinos are also disproportionately lower class. And yet, if you look at, I think it's the first link that I posted there, what you can see is that despite Latinos being disproportionately lower class, their admission rates went up after affirmative action was erased, suggesting what? Right, that prestige and all that other stuff you're talking about is not something that by itself is as affecting as we would like to believe it is. And sometimes it is. Sometimes class is the factor, right? But we can't pretend that the intersection of race and class, and specifically Black and class, means nothing. We can't pretend that there's not a very obvious difference between certain races and the way that the world treats them, right? Regardless of what class they're in, right? And so I don't think that as much as it would be nice to pretend that just focus on class and it's going to be fine. I think that that's bullshit, and I think that's being willfully ignorant of things that we are very well aware of discrepancies between the Black community and everywhere else.
That is true. I want to see how universities who are worried about this, they say they're worried, how will they enact certain things, what rulings they will do, what things will they go by class. Like I have stated before, if you go to the Delta, Mississippi, they have books from 1950 something, still to this day. And I'm like, how will they ever do a SAT on something that they can't learn naturally? They only can get it when y'all send the practice test, and they don't have no reference to do it. They have to do it online, but unfortunately for a lot of people in Mississippi, a lot of those Delta areas, they took the libraries away. So I don't know where they will.
Yeah, but that's not the reason why. I mean, there's a little bit of an issue, which again, this is where I say people really actually misunderstand where the issues come in. And because that misunderstanding has been propagated throughout, society, as though that understanding is totally valid and is what it is. That's why we have so many misunderstandings. So to be clear, when you're talking about bias in testing, we're talking about, say, the SATs, MCATs, whatever, right? We were talking about the bias in SATs and saying, listen, this test is racist against Black people. Okay, Black people are literally set up to do worse, right? We're not just talking, yeah, you're talking about because some of the issues have been fixed. For example, when they were using questions that were referenced a sport that if you had never played the sport, there's no way you could answer the question, right? For example, golf or, other upper end thing, horseshoes. It's things like if you had never played this, you can't answer the question, right? Which they have tried to fix as much bias as possible in testing, but there's always going to be a lot. Now, what people don't realize is that the majority of this bias that is built in is inherent and cannot be solved. It can't be solved. The only way that you could solve the bias is, in essence, to introduce bias that would favor another group. So there would still be bias. And what these are not tests, these are not questions that you fail because of your class or because of your experience. It has nothing to do with that. And this is where people are not understanding. It is literally insanely true. Insanely true. It sounds weird, but it's true. There are some questions that no matter how smart you are, no matter how whatever it is, that if you were a white person trying to answer that question, you are almost always going to get that question wrong. Or if you're a Black person, you're always going to get that question wrong. And it's insane because it's like, well, you would think, okay, well, so it's not experience, it's not class, it's not what. Literally, it's like down to our DNA. I'm not even kidding. And it's funny because I sat through a psychometrics class where they ask these questions, and I'm really good at testing. When I say I'm really good, I have always done exceptionally well on all kinds of tests, including IQ tests, okay? And this teacher asked all these different questions. And I'm telling you, you could see it. You could see the ones with the white kids, all the white kids got it right. Then all the Asian kids got it right. And then, well, just me, I'm the Black kid. But I got it right and everyone else got it wrong. And it was amazing to see, right? But the point is that the bias that they're talking about is not that. That stuff where it's like, oh, we're talking about rugby and horseshoes and stuff and whatever. A lot of that has already been corrected long time. That's not the bias that stands. And that's not the bias that they are when they are correcting for race. They're not correcting based on, oh, well, you know what? Most of these Black kids are poor, so they're not going to know about golf. We'll scratch that question. That's not what they're correcting, okay? They are correcting for each race because it's not just for Black people, also for white people and also for Asian people and also for Hispanic people. They are correcting those questions that, like, literally, because of your race, you're guaranteed to get wrong. That's what they're correcting for, and they're taking those marks like they don't hurt against you. Okay. And they do it for all races, but, and they're doing it like, it's not actually like, see, this is what I'm saying. Like, people don't understand what it is. And then they think, oh, well, there's this unfair disadvantage Black people get. Like, no, that's just not what it is.
All right. Thank Ruby for that. Now we're going to talk about the second one because it is almost midnight. And I know y'all want to go fireworks for things. So we're going to skip ahead and go to the second subject that SCOTUS had to deal with.
Familiar challenge here. The question whether businesses can refuse service to LGBTQ customers because doing so would violate the business owner's First Amendment rights. This was a 6-3 decision. The Supreme Court rules for a Christian web designer who objected to making wedding websites for same-sex couples.
Today, the last day of Pride Month, the Supreme Court revealed yet another catastrophic decision that favors conservative Christians who want to use their faith as an excuse to discriminate against their fellow Americans. So let's get into some information on the woman who started this whole lawsuit. From CBS News, Lori Smith wants to post a message explaining why she cannot make custom websites for same-sex weddings, which states that doing so compromises her Christian beliefs and tells, quote, a story about marriage that contradicts God's true story of marriage. Colorado's law prohibits businesses open to the public from refusing service because of sexual orientation and announcing their intent to do so. Now, here's the real kicker. Smith has not yet created any wedding websites or been asked to do so for a same-sex wedding, but argues that Colorado's law violates her free speech rights since the state is forcing her to express a message she disagrees with.
That's my biggest issue with this whole thing. No one asked you to. I'm pretty sure most people, if you be weird like this, wouldn't want you to because you're probably not going to do a good job. So to even bring this up is strange to me. That's one thing I found really strange in this case. I'm like, why? If no one asked you to do this, why? Again, we in a culture war. I think the world, America is a little too safe, so we're trying to create enemies out of nowhere. But again, that is strange. But then we're gonna continue to see.
Now, Smith.
Ruby, you got anything to say on this? Or
no, I just wanted to ask. You're saying that no one asked them, but like, aren't they petitioning against the law or something? Something that said they're not allowed to do this type of discrimination. So isn't that kind of like implicitly asking them?
Yes. So, but I just found it's fair in that way, but I just thought it was strange. So it is what you're saying is 100% correct. That the law, then I forgot when they made the law. When they made it, they said it's discriminatory against their religion. So what you're saying is right, but I just found it weird that no one asked them to, and then they're like, "Hey, I'm just gonna fight this." But then it's just my mind going to culture war politics again. So
okay.
So that's it. I'm like, it's strange that you randomly decided, hey, this random law when nobody knows laws ever. Just like, hey, I'm finna just randomly fight this. I just thought that was strange. It's like it's a valid thing, but I just thought it was strange.
Okay.
Filed a lawsuit against the state of Colorado and lost, then appealed to the Supreme Court. The ruling has horrifying implications for not just the LGBTQ community, but also other minority groups. So let's learn more.
These public accommodation laws have a lengthy historical pedigree. They've been part of our federal laws for over 70 years. And in most states and localities, there are similar laws. And they just say that if you're a business and you provide goods or services to the public, you can't discriminate. And in recent years, discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and sometimes gender identity has also been prohibited in many places, including in Colorado. And until now, the Supreme Court has never said that one of those laws violates the First Amendment rights of a business or business owner who wishes to refuse service to some category of customers. So I do think that Devin is exactly right that this case has potentially sweeping ramifications for the ability of business owners under some circumstances to provide services and to the ability of customers, I should say, to receive services on a non-discriminatory basis.
Now, Justice Sonia Sotomayor elaborated on those ideas in her dissent. From the New York Times, the decision threatens to balkanize the market and to allow the exclusion of other groups from many services, Justice Sotomayor wrote, citing hypothetical examples like a stationery store owner refusing to sell a birth announcement for a disabled couple because she opposes their having a child, or a large retail store could reserve its family portrait services for traditional families. A website designer could equally refuse to create a wedding website for an interracial couple, for example. Meanwhile, here's what Lori Smith had to say today on, of course, Fox News.
I am incredibly grateful for the court's decision that affirms that the government cannot force anyone to say something they don't believe. I want to create websites that are consistent with my view on marriage, but the state of Colorado said you must set aside your views. And I decided to take a stand for freedom, to protect speech. I know that if I want free speech for myself, that I must protect it for others, and I'm grateful that the court has protected speech for all. I have clients from all walks of life, including clients who identify as LGBT, and I just want to create consistent with what I believe, but I want that for everyone. I want the LGBT website designer, the Jewish calligrapher, the Democrat speechwriter. I want everyone to be able to work and design consistently with what they believe.
She looks exactly how you would expect her to look, by the way. Just had to point that out. Now, thankfully, there's clever Twitter users who've already thought of how to turn the Supreme Court's insane rulings against them. Here's a tweet from feminist longtime Elon Musk fan, Not Real. It says, "It is my deeply held belief that my loan servicers are homosexuals and it would violate my religious freedoms to pay them." Gotta laugh. Gotta laugh so that we don't cry, right?
Yeah, but like, I disagree. I disagree with this one. Here's my issue, right? Is I would not like, okay, if you're a doctor or a lawyer or something, right? And the company that you work for the district attorney's office, or you work for legal aid, or you work for whatever, right? And so you work for a company that funds the public indiscriminately, right? Like if people need a lawyer, then they go to this service, right? And they get a public defender if they can't afford to purchase their own, right? I feel like in that case, yeah, you should not be able to discriminate. I don't care what your inherent beliefs are or whatever. I mean, you might want to talk about that within your office, because I think that if you didn't like hate your client or didn't like, adamantly oppose their existence, that you might do a better job. But in general, in that type of scenario, I would agree that like, no, you shouldn't, you don't get a choice there, bud. You made a choice about what kind of position, or you're a doctor and you want to work in an emergency room. You don't get to discriminate against your patients, right? Like you're trash then. If you want to go discriminate, go work in some type of private practice where you get to choose what type of clientele you serve, right? So I think that is very different than you owning a private business. I think about myself. And would I want to be forced to service people that I adamantly oppose their message or their existence? No. And I don't think I should have to. As my private business that I run, I fund, I pay taxes for, I do all of this. Why does anyone have the right to tell me who my clientele must be? Right? That would be like an equivalent of someone coming onto the show, in my opinion, right? And letting us know we can't run our news show unless we are also supporting horribly bigoted views, right? Like we have to show at least one or two horribly bigoted views, right? And we have to be supportive of them, because otherwise we're not allowed to run the show, right? Like that, to me, that's what it sounds like to me. Like as dude, go somewhere else. Why would you even want someone who doesn't like your existence? Why would you want them making your cake or taking your pictures or doing whatever? Like, why would you want, I want those people to feel very free to let me know they hate me. I want to know. That way I give them a wide berth and I don't waste my money on them because they don't deserve my money. I want to go to someone who's going to appreciate my business, who sees me as a valuable, valid human being, and who deserves my business, and who also deserves my references to lots of other people who are going to give them service. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, so to me, I disagree with forcing private businesses to do anything. And the phrasing of it, like, oh, well, who serve the public? Everyone serves the public. If it's a business, it serves the public. Like, what do you mean, right? Like, they're not saying like, dude, I don't like it. I'm sorry, I don't like it at all.
It does play a slippery slope. Like, for instance, if you were, say you're a Christian and somebody be like, hey, according to the law, you have to make this satanic shirt. Or if you're like pro-choice, you have to make this pro-life shirt because you run a business in clothing. Like, would you want to do that if you like vehemently opposed to it? Like, it starts that slope in which they always state that someone should make these laws based on this committee. But I'm like, who's on the committee? That's what I'm saying. Who decides what free speech is? Because I saw somebody say we need to do away with free speech. Who decides that though? Like, if it's against you, you're like, hey, we need to control who's in control, and it depends on who's in control at that time, could lead to you being shut off completely. But for instance, a conservative be like, oh, you can't say these views, you can't do this, you can't do that. Like it was back in the day for a lot of black people and stuff, you can't do this. But they'd be like, no, anyone can say what they want. That's what you want. You don't want that. Like, the thing is, I think it just starts playing on a slippery slope because it might be advantageous to you, but when it's not, it's not. and
that's what I mean, right? Like, and it's like on one side, right? Because I can like apply this to myself over and over again, right? I'm black and I'm a woman, so I mean that's two factors that I can apply to myself, right? But it's like, okay, so a restaurant doesn't want to serve black people. Let me know. I want to know you don't serve black people. I do not want to eat your spit in my food because you were forced to serve me, but you hate black people. I would rather you put a sign on your door, and that's okay. I'm not even kidding. I would rather that, because I would rather go to the place where black people are welcome, because then my money is welcome there and they'll be happy that I was there. They don't see me as some type of infestation or something in their place. Do you see what I'm saying? Or Same thing with me spending money places. Anytime I go to like a store and I've experienced racism or some type of discrimination where they treat me like I'm broke or whatever, I go across the street where they can still see me though, and I spend a lot of money in a store across the street from them just so they could see that I could more than afford whatever foolishness that they're talking about, but like they just don't get my money because yeah, right? And I mean, like I think that's the thing. Like to me, I would want people to be free to serve who they want. If they started this business, it's their business. It's a private business that is privately owned by them. I think they should have the right to serve whoever they want. And I think that, you know, I would understand if you're talking about like, I don't know, like I said, like when I talked about like working for the ER emergency room in a hospital, or, you know, like something like that. I understand where it's like, yeah, discrimination can't be there. I get that. Or in the supply chain where it's like, okay, you have a contract with the city that you're the only person who supplies this type of thing that all businesses would need or whatever it is, right? No, you don't get to, as a person who has a contract with the government, discriminate. No, right? I don't care what your personal beliefs are. You're going to have to get over that because that's the rule you have set up, right? So I think that's very different than just being a private business owner though, right? Like, I don't know. I see it differently and I wouldn't want to be shut up. So
I know some of the points that will be made. I understand the point that, listen, we're going back to the 1950s, but it's a difference now. We can create our own. It goes back to the idea that if we have people that don't discriminate as much as it did in the 50s or things like that. Back then you either had it or you didn't. You had black ownerships and they still found a way. You had black small businesses, they didn't have as much money, but they found ways. But now, to Ruben's point, do you want someone who really don't like you to provide services for you? Like I would rather you have it on the door and not pretend than actually do. Because again, we have to get out of this mindset of 1950s. We want to be in their spaces. Nothing against their spaces, but it seems like it's a constant mindset that, oh, we want acceptance. And I'm just a person that don't care for acceptance from other people. So that's probably where my perspective comes from. Like, I don't have to be in your store. Your store is not special. It's not anything. My uncle owned, my auntie owned a restaurant. Both my aunties and my uncle owned the store. So I'm like, we don't have to have your spaces. So that's how my thought process is. I don't have to be in your area if you don't like me. It's not like an honor for me to be there.
Right, exactly. And like, I'm sorry, but like, you know, that whole issue, and we do have an issue within the Black community, you know, the white man's ice is colder, the white man's grass is greener, so on and so forth. We do still have that issue. And so, you know, we like to, and I do understand, even if it's not like that though, I do understand where some people can see this as like it's an issue. It's a scary issue, where they feel like, okay, you know, they might be from a demographic. Like if you talk about like, for example, the queer community, it's a much smaller demographic in America than the Black community, right? Well, that means that, you know, it's a lot easier to disenfranchise them, like to a large extent. I mean, if they weren't so financially powerful, but I mean, it's just saying, right? If they take away the financial power for a second, it's a lot easier to disenfranchise them because they're only 1% of the population, right? So I can understand it would be like, okay, well, you know, well, if we just, you know, how many people who make cakes are, you know, or who do this job or who do that job, how many of them are, you know, allies or queer? Because if it's like none, right, I understand like that fear. But then to me, as you said, okay, but this is where we start new businesses, right? And we give our business to the new business. And we promote the new business. And then suddenly you've got grassroots movements supporting that new business. That new business is going to blow up, be really big, really fast, just because they actually don't discriminate, right? But like the point is like, no, the answer to me is not to force the existing businesses to not be discriminatory. No, I want them to be extra discriminatory because I really want to know who they are, right? So that way I know 100%. Like we should have an app. Right. And then once we know, now we know who we don't support and who doesn't get our dollars. That I would love that. Absolutely.
Friends, you get somebody who's racist, you have them make your website. The website ain't done well. They don't like you. They ain't putting no effort into it versus this person down the street. and then they want it. It's a very complex thing, and I don't want people to just be like, "Oh, we for it, yeah, we for discriminate." No, I want you to actually think about the other side. Like, what happens when the rabbit got the gun? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, because when the rabbit got the gun, the hunter in trouble then. So that's all I gotta say. Yeah, I might have it. But yeah, I do agree. But also, you can't discriminate from. So I do not want them to discriminate. But at the same time, I do want to know it's a struggle trying to actually think about it, because at the same time, you don't want to. Like, you want to be accepted, and you want society to be this ideal form where everybody you can just go to wherever and have your ultimate choice and pick and choose. But at the end of the day, as I said earlier in the first case, it's a wake-up call. They can take your rights away at any time. They can take your belief system away. So somebody has to do some work. And
well, in America, it's more of a problem because, again, the Equal Rights Amendment was never ratified. I live in a country, Canada, where we do have equal rights. We're one of 8 countries that gives equal rights to everybody based on gender, race, religious, whatever. America, though, the Equal Rights Amendment was never ratified. So everyone who thinks that they have equal rights because of the Equal Rights Amendment, sorry, you don't. It was never ratified, ever. Still to this day. So, yeah, again, but this is where, to me, this is how they keep Americans very distracted and stupid, because they have you dancing around chasing this kind of thing instead of, again, the Equal Rights Amendment was never ratified. You want to see when that's coming up again and try to start pushing your your congressman to I don't know, actually do their job and get that ratified. I don't know. I'm just saying.
We can't even get a George Floyd bill that was promised to us by the Democratic whole office. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that, by the way. So shout out to them, though. I'm just saying, I'm still a little salty. Yeah, something like y'all promised something. Black people, specifically in Georgia, showed out for you. You still didn't get in there. Let's see, though. But hey, that don't mean don't. I'm not telling you don't vote because I know some people interpreted that. No, I've been on this rampage to vote and put people in forever. But we got one more law, and then we're gonna get out of here because I know it's almost time to shoot them fireworks. These, you can tell us your thoughts in the comments and all that stuff. But let's see. One more, student loan forgiveness.
You got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun.
Court has effectively, for now, annihilated the planned student debt relief that Joe Biden rolled out relatively early on in his first term. 6-3 decision by the court's conservative majority derailing that major campaign pledge. Up to 40 million Americans who stood to have up to $20,000 in student debt wiped away will now not. Or will they? Maybe. We're gonna debate it, but as of right now, no, they're not going to. It was gonna happen, and now it's not going to. Reminding everyone of how important every different aspect of government is. Who your president is, whether they're gonna push for student debt elimination, all of it, a little bit of it, a minor amount of it, like Joe Biden, who controls Supreme Court nominees. Very, very important stuff for millions and millions of Americans. So if you haven't been following this back and forth, we're gonna catch you up on what Joe Biden was going to do. He contended that his administration had the authority to forgive student loan debt under the Higher Education Relief Opportunities for Students Act of 2003. The law allows the education secretary to waive or modify loan provisions in response to a national emergency, such as the coronavirus pandemic. And so the education secretary, as well as Joe Biden, proposed a plan that would eliminate up to $10,000 for individual student debt borrowers making up to $125,000, double that for married couples, and those who received Pell Grants, a form of financial aid for low and middle income students, would be able to double that to eliminate the $20,000. John Roberts, writing with the majority, said the secretary asserts that the HEROES Act grants him the authority to cancel $430 billion of student loan principal. It does not. We hold today that the act allows the secretary to, quote, waive or modify existing statutory or regulatory provisions applicable to financial assistance programs under the Education Act, not to rewrite that statute from the ground up. And of course, he was joined by all of the conservatives. Get used to that. Particularly for decisions that are important and have implications, monetary, financial implications for wealthy individuals and corporations. And to be clear, I'm not a lawyer. I know you've got your training. obviously. When he says you can do these little changes, but you can't fundamentally recreate it. I see no way in which that means literally anything. They seem to just take issue, I guess, with the amount. They seem to accept that you can cancel debt during a national emergency. We already know, thanks to Donald Trump, it was declared to be an emergency. He just decided to cancel more than had previously been done. And I guess that allows them to define that as a fundamental rewrite of the entire thing. But just, again, get used to this. Like, they're just making stuff up as they go along now. It's never been.
I'm gonna state my opinion on this. I'm gonna let y'all. We're gonna let y'all go because I know it's almost time to shoot those fireworks. But I'm gonna take my bias out of this because it would massively help me from an economic perspective. You should probably find a way to actually do this because most of those 40 million people will be end up paying $100 to $200 a month, which will ultimately will affect the economy because poorer people tend to spend more money than on average of their investment in other people. And as you see, the price of everything has gone up. Once you put this $200, $300 hold on everybody again, spending gonna massively go down. It's gonna massively go down. And as we know that most jobs, we have so many jobs right now in America that we don't have enough people to work. Unemployment is one of the lowest it's been in almost forever. It's like 3% of people that's actively trying to look for jobs don't get jobs. The majority of everything is consistently rose for that. But once you put more people in debt, when they have to start paying, I think in September, you're gonna put that. And as Dante say, people, you're gonna have a lot more default. You're gonna have more problems. My student loan been shifted to like 4 different companies because it stopped people not paying it. So it shifts around. But student loan debt is one of the debts you add that they keep on your record no matter what. The money's there. They need to pull back military spend. Yeah, we spend way more than everybody else. But like I said, even taking my bias out of it and it helping my life out, so I don't have to pay $280 a month. They're back in September. Economically, it works. If it were that easy, sure, but that isn't the reason for this case. Same as for me, it would help me a lot. So I am biased in that case. But again, economically, young people are the ones that's spending money. They are the ones with the job. The boomers are out of the workforce by far since COVID. But like I said, unemployment is very low. That means a lot of people are working. There are more jobs than needed. But at the same time, once you put that $200 loan with inflation and everything in America, I don't know. It looks like it might be a start of maybe could be a recession because interest rates are not helping because the amount of people working is not the same. If y'all know how that works, I don't know if people know how interest rates work in America. The bank takes like a 20% interest loan from the government, and then based on the interest rate, they charge them back. But if enough people not working actively, it literally means nothing and doesn't help the economy. So,
well, nobody's spending anything though. I mean, when you look at millennials who still are living at home with their parents, like the majority, never mind that Generation Z is also therefore living at home with their parents. Nobody's purchasing really anything to boost the economy in any significant way because they can afford anything. Like, I mean, it's to the point now where like almost every third article you see written has something to do with it, right? Because never before have we seen not just one generation, but 2 in a row, right? Where the cost of living is so high, the rates of payment are so low, right? The cost of school, all these things, right? The cost of debt is so high that you have 2 generations in a row who literally, like, no one's even leaving home. No one has any aspirations. This is what people are not as getting married. That's a huge reason why people are not getting married, because they can't afford it. They can afford to get married, right? They can afford things like, this is why diamonds are going out of style again, right? People can afford luxury items like buying diamonds, just something that's going to sit on your arm to be about love, right? Like no one, like, what people didn't realize, right? Because they weren't kind of watching it. They just made fun of millennials for their avocado toast and whatever, right? But what they didn't realize is that, yeah, they were buying avocado toast because they weren't buying anything else because they can't afford anything. And they're sitting there and diligently saving up for decades, trying to just get a condo or a house or something, because they understand that the renting market is something you can never escape. Once you start renting, you will never escape, ever. It's impossible. It's literally impossible to save and pay rent, right? And so, I mean, like, you've literally got 2 generations in a row, another generation coming up right now, that are looking at life like, hey, listen, you guys screwed us to begin with, because we got these incredibly expensive, especially millennials, we got these incredibly expensive educations because you told us that that's the way you become successful. And then the entire world changed. And literally, as soon as we got out of school, our educations were either redundant or irrelevant. And so either way, now we just finished paying out the wazoo for an education that is not going to help us get a better job. So let's go work for minimum wage and then have to pay back our hundreds and thousands of dollars in student loans until we die, pretty much, because that's how long we'll be paying, right? Like, no one really thought it through. And, you know, I understand it's because we're kind of in this unprecedented time, right? Like, the thing that happened to millennials and zennials in particular, but millennials, right, and early Gen Zs, the thing that happened has never happened before, because technology never happened before. Like, not like this, right? The tech boom and what happened to my generation, it has never happened before. So, you know, they've been very bad at predicting what's going to happen going forward because of it. And that's why now I think there is a lot of, that's why I think Biden's probably got his head on straight with this. It's like, okay, if we want to bounce back, we've got to alleviate some of this. We have to, or the rest of the economy is going to collapse. And our old age people, guess what? That system's already collapsing. If you guys don't remember, right, was Medicaid or Medicare? Which one's for old people?
Medicare.
Okay. So if y'all remember, that's already collapsing because people who had their own savings, right? They paid for their savings out of their savings for their old folks' homes and stuff like that and whatever. And then they're supposed to be able to use Medicare for the rest of it, and they can't. They're getting booted out into the street because, you know, Medicaid can't pay the full sum. So say, oh, we'll pay 80%. And the old folks' homes are saying, sorry, 80% isn't enough. Sorry. So these systems are already collapsing. Right? You need taxpayers' dollars. Okay. You need the economy to be thriving to pay for these types of systems to take care of the old generation as they get up there. What are you going to do? You have to alleviate the pressure. You have to. And like, student loan debt is a huge way to alleviate the pressure. That's just what it is.
Yeah, think about Ruby's point when she said you can't afford anything. Just imagine. I had a man when I was going to politics. Like, but back in my day, when I was in 1970, I used to make $33K a year. I'm like, okay, if I make $33K, how much was your home insurance? He said, yeah, $20. I'm like, okay, mine is like $185. Okay, so I'm 6 times more than that, and we making the same thing. So okay, everything's going up. Oh, how much was a hamburger back in 1970? It was $1.25. I'm like, yeah, Burger King is $6 now. A meal $9. So. That's what I'm saying. So when you think about those things and how that guy would actually say those things when he was speaking, and you're like, oh, he doesn't understand the difference between $33K then 40 years ago versus $33K now, in which my student loan debt would be $280. My car note would be $200. Then I have to have insurance for my car, $100. Food is way more expensive. Oh, your $33K looks very light, my guy, when you're paying for 99 cents for hamburgers. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Mm-hmm. How much did you used to have to make? It's a very simple equation of how much did you used to have to make to be above the poverty line, right? Not even like comfortably in the middle class, just above the poverty line in the 1970s versus now. Because it is insane, the cost of living. Like, it is insane. It is insane how much money you can make and still be below the poverty line. Poverty. You're children and you are starving, poverty line. Like, and never mind what big corp is doing to poor people. And people who are the working poor. Like, let's not even talk about what they're doing. Let's not talk about how America every day bankrupts people over medical. Right? Let's not even talk about that. Let's not talk about the fact that trying to get insurance so that way you're not bankrupted is bankrupting in and of itself, especially when what? Hold on. How much is your student loan repayment per month? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, they're not putting all the pieces together. Biden seems to have it. I think this is the one thing I've heard when they're like, oh, Biden said, and I'm like, oh, I think I kind of agree with Biden on this. I think Biden is seeing things straight. Like, oh, okay, I'm still gonna push forward on this because y'all are idiots. Yeah, I think this is a smart move. And I'm not biased at all because it's not gonna help my student loans. So I'm Canadian, right? So just saying.
It always makes sense that if
11K. Wait, that's what the cost that was. You had 11K in the 1970s. Damn.
I'm saying let's see what the census. I'm just looking up some stuff. Individual. Let me go weighted. We gonna do the weighted one. So let's see what it is. I'll put it on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna see weighted average of poverty. Let me know if y'all let me put it on the screen for y'all. I'm in the way, so let me move myself out of the way, and then we'll let y'all get out here. I know I promise you, but y'all can see the numbers.
I mean, I can see that there are numbers. I can't see what they are.
I'm just looking at. Let me see. Individual in 1970 would be 1,900. 2012, 11,000. Weighted poverty.
Double. Wow.
Yeah, so it's like so what was it? 1954 to 11. Yeah, so it went up. That's how much it goes up. And that's the poverty line. Yeah, it's 20 now. So 20,000.
Poverty line. There's a line that if you make less than, you are impoverished. So when people now that's just like, so let's think about that, right? So if you made 33,000 back when the poverty line was at 10,000, right? You're making 20,000 above poverty. Great. Now you make 33,000.
Then
you're 10,000 above poverty. And that's not including so many things.
Healthcare, you got to pay for it now. You got to pay for healthcare, car note, car insurance, home insurance, flood insurance.
Remember the cost of bread, the cost of an egg, the cost of all of the everything that you need that's necessary, the cost of heat, the cost of water, the cost of everything has escalated, right? The fees that you never used to have that you have now. Like it's insane. It's insane. And I'll never understand how these people say stuff like that. And it's like, are you seriously that unaware of what the under 40 group have been dealing with? Like, you just missed it. Like, open your eyes. Open.
And that's not we talked about basic thing. We ain't talking about the credit card debt we all take to go on a trip or to buy something nice on credit just because we like, yeah, I can't afford it, but it's nice to have. And that adds up too, and you get trapped in a credit loophole that hopefully somebody just cut your cards and be like, hey, just pay it back and stop doing this. But
right.
But that's the update on those three things. Ruby, anything else?
And that would be it. I would like to eat some barbecue now. Thank you.
Go out and enjoy some fireworks. Happy 4th, happy Canada Day. Hope y'all had a great one. Happy 4th of July. BMT, get well soon, my guy.
Yes.
Want to see you rant in the street, in your car.
It's not the same without your wild ranting. It's just not. But thank you everyone who was able to make it. Hopefully BMT's in the clouds also. Thank you very much everyone for taking the time to take their either Canada Day or July 4th the holiday time, taking at least a little piece of that to spend it with us. Thank you. And thank you very much for your patience as far as us starting a little later today because of the holiday. So thank you very much on that. We are at how many subscribers now? Where are we at?
Last time I checked, it was
113.
Yeah, 113.
You're 113 subscribers, y'all. 113 subscribers. Huh.
So like and subscribe right now.
Exactly. Oh, there's Uniqua. I don't think we said hi to Uniqua Williams.
Out to
Am I
Joe.
saying that right? Uniqua?
Unico.
Or is it Nico?
Yeah, unique-o.
It doesn't feel right though without the quo, because I know there's supposed to be a U always whenever there's a Q. So I'm trying though. I'm trying for you. Unique-o. I just feel like that should be a K then. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you for coming.
I thought it said unique girl, and I was like, oh, Joe's growing.
Unique-o. See, I feel like that should be a K or a C though. But it's okay. I'm gonna work with it. I got this. I swear I could be not phonetic. It's gonna be fine. I got this. Unique-o, how are you? You Negro, yes. See, I can say that one. That's fine. Yeah, no, okay.
But I do appreciate y'all for stopping by. I think we had a consistent 10 viewers off this whole stream, so thank y'all for that. I appreciate y'all. Get those likes up. We're gonna put some tags and try to get everything here. We didn't do videos since last Thursday. It was holidays. Y'all gotta understand. We'll catch up.
I know. And thank you. I'm so glad to see Biggie out. You know, I didn't get to talk to him about it because, you know, again, just gotta talk about, you know, the more recent entertainment streams and the fact that he still got that giant tattoo and the drinking and the smoking online. I just want to know what his opinion is. That's all I'm saying. So, you know, by all means.
Shout out to Saint and Sinner for going to their house and getting rejected. He brought candy and he brought a card and candy. He signed the card. And they told me.
Oh, really? I didn't watch the video yet. Yes. I didn't have time. Oh.
It was very interesting. I'm like, I've never seen an alpha male go to another man's house with candy and thing. Okay.
You still haven't. Yeah.
It might be something one day. I might do something on this. It was very interesting. Even though I try not to get in there too much, but it's very interesting. And maybe he'll mention us and then call me some weird thing, and I'll be like, hey, we can box, and I can knock him out and become super.
Yeah. It'll all work out. Yeah.
But have fun. 4th of July, go shoot some fireworks, have fun, eat barbecue. Good time. Peace.
Cheers, y'all.